With the Butt Kicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Butt Kicker. The future is feeling.
Ever witnessed someone so fast on track you doubt you could ever be on their level? The mission of Advanced Motorsports is to demonstrate the speed is achievable for everyone. With the expertise of some of the best sim drivers in North America, we are set to release free content on social media and comprehensive guides on our website. For those seeking the ultimate experience, our Advanced Motorsport Institute and personalized coaching sessions are the way to go. No matter your level of experience, we invite you to follow us on our social media to learn to be fast.
Season is getting to crunch time here in PRL, specifically in the LMP3-GT4 Challenge, where we've moved into sunnier scenarios here for what should be an exciting and important race for the championship. It's round 6 here on RaceSpotTV. Pleasure to have your company. My name up in the commentary booth is Darren Thacker, joined by the wonderful Reese Gardner all the way over in Australia. And then over in America as well, we've got our broadcast director, Dustin Hollis, pushing all the buttons, making it look absolutely fantastic for us this evening. And Reese, this sure is going to be an important race for the championship because we've only got 3 weeks from today until the season finale.
Yeah, indeed we have, and we are at Barcelona for this 6th round of the championship, the historic layout, which means the slipstream is certainly going to be important. The super long front straight is going to be a massive factor in this race, but plenty of space between the corners. We should see some pretty clean racing between our classes. What a final stanza of rounds we've got as well. Road America, Hockenheimring, and VIR to end off the season. With the championship standings being how they are, man, it's going to be a very interesting sequence of races to end the season.
Yeah, it really is going to be quite tight as we work our way through because there's only 4 points separate Dayton Lowe and Alec Bergstrom at the top of the LMP3 standings. Pete Aston is a little bit further back, 192 points, so he's going to have to be picking up some points elsewhere, maybe trying to find a few positions here and there. Ryan O'Connor and Zach Hebert, along with David Duino, were quite close in the battle for P4, with Oleg Lovkov, Christian Garreton, Vincent LaRue, and Doug Sorrentino rounding out the top 10. Now, over in the team standings, though, for the LMP3s, it's Hydro Race, Geodesic Racing who lead the way. Roberto's Angels, Team Teal, are 70 points back, and then the closest challenges, because Solpec Precision Racing are a long way at 210 points back from our championship leaders. Muradnas M Squad and Fiercely Forward 1 point behind the P3 team, so a tight battle in there with Sim Total, Roberto's Angels Team Red, Delta Sport, Echelon Sim Sports, and Tabula Rasa Esports rounding out the top 10 in the LMP3s. In the GT4s, it's Aidan Young leading the way. He's had a great season so far. Can he keep it up ahead of Aaron Myers? Darren Rutherford a little bit further back. He's fighting for P3 with Adam Oskridge in the championship. Championship, and don't count out Francis Castillo-Romero, who is in P5. Reed Gibson and Roy Brown, 6th and 7th, with Joshua Lewis, Christopher Rosario, and Kalen Tobin rounding out those top 10 as we have completed 5 rounds. And in the Teams Championship, well, Valhalla Motorsports Tevere, they have quite a lead, don't they? It is looking pretty good for them. 88 points is the gap, and Solpec Precision Racing have got a lot of work to do if they're going to close that. Team B from P3 ahead of Fiercely Forward and Valhalla Motorsports. Big Fast Racing, Soy Boys Racing, and Echelon Simsport are the other teams in the category, and they are trying to fight amongst themselves for probably P6 at the back there. But some tight championship battles, Reese, and it's going to be an important race, I think, here at Barcelona to kind of see which teams and which drivers can kind of pull in front here.
Yeah, indeed. Plenty to come in this championship, which is brought to us at the Precision Racing League by many great sponsors, Dara.
They are, and we have to thank them before we get into our action. And most notably, of course, Advanced Sim Racing, owned and operated by passionate sim racers. Advanced Sim Racing designs and builds the sturdiest and most durable aluminium profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. All PRL members will also get a 5% discount on ASR products using the Precision 5 Racing coupon code. Racebox Sim Racing, I was getting ahead of myself there. Racebox offers mid and high-end button boxes for sim racing enthusiasts, from the casual gamer up to the most meticulous sim racing driver. Competitively priced and carefully handcrafted, our button boxes are an enjoyable addition to any sim racing setup. Visit raceboxsimracing.com and get a 5% discount using the Precision 5 coupon code. The Butt Kicker. Butt Kicker products are incredible immersion and realism to every game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. Radness is a performance lifestyle brand motivated by motorsport and founded by professional race car driver Daniel Murad. Mr. Hedge Sim Racing Photography. Capture your finest, proudest, or simply worst moments from your hobby in up to 8K resolution. A great addition to any sim room. And of course, Advanced Motorsports. Get ready to learn to be fast with Advanced Motorsports. Follow them on all of their socials to become a better driver, and I do know that they are on pretty much every social media you can think of, so make sure you are following Advanced Motorsports there. But we thank all of our sponsors as we start to get in towards the action here then, Reese. Qualifying well underway here as we've got a couple of drivers crossing the line, but this qualifying session is going to be really important, isn't it? You've had great timing there. First time on the board, 37.3, but this is going to be an important qualifying session to really see where the championship contenders can kind of put themselves, because 3 rounds to go after this, you can't be falling back now.
No, certainly not. It's crunch time, as you said, right at the top of the show. The last few weeks of the season, which means getting the results is incredibly important. Many drivers have already had a round that they could count as their drops, so they can't afford to have more drop points from here, or even get a worse result. You know, you have to be consistent, you have to be quick if you want to get the title, as Dayton Lowe is well aware of, making his way around his first qualifying lap at the moment around this very flowing circuit. It doesn't have the best reputation, does Barcelona. It's mostly from its Formula 1 exploits, used as a test venue, and a common complaint is that the layout doesn't produce good racing, but I think that largely depends on the cars racing here. In sports cars, Barcelona, I think, one of the best circuits to watch racing on, especially this historic layout, which has the original final sector of the racetrack. This is beautiful, this section. Have a look at that chicane. We're not using that. We're going straight past it as Dayton Lowe takes the original final corner. Of course, it is the current final corner as well, with Barcelona being restored to a flowing final sector for Formula 1. His first lap time, a 136.4, easily top of the standings, but Oleg Lovkov, who's had some great form in the last couple of rounds, is right on his heels.
Yeah, and of course that camera angle was absolutely fantastic, wasn't it? Through the chicane, really showing where the cars are not going to be going. But I think you're right about the racing with sports cars here. So many long, open corners that with a pace difference particularly, we're going to see some quite interesting moves, particularly on the laps, or the lapped traffic that are going to come up for the LMP3s of the GT4s, so it's going to be really important to see how that all shapes itself out, and it should be an absolute cracker when we do get going. But these guys have to get the lap times in pretty quickly, otherwise they're going to find themselves under a lot of pressure at the end of this session with only 4 minutes on the clock. Christian Garreton, though, up towards the line. Can he make any improvement? Yes, he can. So close to the time of David Duino, that's currently provisional pole, but 400ths off. He's only 3 thousandths ahead of Dayton Lowe, just showing how close it is at the top 3 at the moment.
Yeah, Alec Bergstrom's first lap down and dusted. He's currently half a second off David Duino at the front of the field. So, trying to get back into the championship lead is going to be difficult with a few cars in between himself and Dayton Lowe. Jeff Kaufhold here in the GT4 Porsche. We'll see how he makes his way through the middle sector. No surprise to see that Aiden Young is on top in the GT4 class. He's one of the winningest drivers in this series in GT4, so we'll see if anyone can get to within those 4/10ths of him. Aaron Myers, of course, his closest competitor, as per usual. Lowe briefly got to the top of the LMP3 standings, but David Duino has gone even faster. He's looking incredibly quick here today.
He absolutely is, and let's see if he can keep this up throughout the rest of qualifying and into the race as well. 35 minutes off the race, of course, as we've had in every round so far, and we'll have to see if the number 5 can deliver there as well. Jeff Kaufhold is trying to improve on his lap time, current best of a 150 flat, but can he go just a little bit better? Let's see. Rounding that final corner, he's nearly a full second off the time of Aiden Young, but he's going to be looking to just maybe try and get himself onto the front row, maybe ahead of San Mayorga. Let's see what the time is going to be when he crosses the line, and I don't think it was much of an improvement. In fact, it wasn't an improvement, and Darren Rutherford has just gone in front of him in the LMP3s. Alec Bergstrom has just gone up into P2, of course, in the championship picture with Dayton Lowe, so 9,000 between them, Reese. That's a really important swing.
Yeah, very important indeed. This is going to be incredibly close in the LMP3s tonight. Looking forward to it as per usual. But Lowe coming to the final couple of corners now. We'll see if this lap is going to be an improvement for him. 136.3 his current time. He needs to beat a 136.15, and it's a 136.0 that he sets on his way to the line back to provisional pole. Looks to me like Duino and Bergstrom still have to complete their final laps, though. Duino, he just ran wide in the final corner. I don't think that last lap is going to count for him. And Bergstrom making his way down through the middle sector now, just clipping the curbs. Got to be careful not to get an off track here, Alec.
Yeah, it's one of these tracks where you're pushing the boundaries so much, aren't you, that it's so easy just to drift a little bit wide around one of these corners. And David Duino, they're doing it around the final corner, especially if that lap was looking good. Would have been absolutely gutting for him. But here comes Alec Bergstrom, number 66 car, in towards the final sector. Such long turns, up to and over 180 degrees worth of rotation through some of these in sector 3. But then you've got 2 fast 90 rides here at the penultimate corner, just carrying all that momentum. Should be near enough flat out, but Alec Bergstrom in the end is coming into the pit lane, so no improvement for the 66 car, and that's perfect news for Dayton Lowe as Garreton improves ahead of his championship rival Alec Bergstrom.
Wow, this is a very interesting qualifying session indeed. Aaron Myers setting his final lap time there. It's an improvement for him. He manages to get within 1.5 tenths or near enough of Aiden Young, but Young will remain on pole position, improving to a 49 flat. Matthew Wyckoff, meanwhile, last lap for him, 150.1. That's a brilliant gain for him. He'll go up from 11th to 8th right in the final seconds.
Yeah, and with so little time on the clock, is anybody going to be able to settle up to him? I think Kalen Tobin might be able to as he rounds the final corner up to the line. Is he going to get there in time? He should just about. Can he improve? That's the question for the number 23 car. Let's see. I don't think he will, and in the end, Kalen Tobin will stay in P9, which allows us to have a bit of a run through of the qualifying order, which will, of course, give us the grid for the race. Round 6, of course, here in Barcelona. We're getting 2/3 of the way through the season. Every position is going to be critical now, and that means that Dayton Lowe starting on pole is going to be massive for him, because he's 3 spots ahead of his teammate Alec Bergstrom, championship rival, I should say, but with David Duino and Christian Garreton in between, maybe going to prove to be very important in that championship picture. Ryan O'Connor and Oleg Lovkov, 5th and 6th, are on the 3rd row of the grid, and let's see what they can do from there, with Jake Browning and Vincent LaRue not too far behind. Brian Vorch and Ray Bartnikovsky are in the top 10, with Gerald Yatatko and Calvin Myatt rounding out the top 12. Not too much to split these drivers, with Matthew Falk and Doug Sorrentino in 13th and 14th, giving us a close-looking grid as we head into this 35-minute race. In the GT4s, though, it's Aidan Young leading the way, as you would expect with his recent form. Aaron Myers in P2, and they are a little bit of a cut above the rest. Sam Mayorga 3rd, Darren Rutherford in 4th, with Carter James and Reed Gibson 5th and 6th. On this starting grid. Jeff Kaufhold and Matthew Wyckoff 7th and 8th, with Kalen Tobin, Christopher Rosario, Francis Castillo-Romero and Joshua Lewis rounding out that top 12. Derek Putnam, Robert McGee and Travis Chapman and Roy Brown the top 16. Pascal Dufresne and Jared Bridwell are on the 9th row together. Just the one more driver, it's Sean Mulholland. He'll start from last. Where can he pick himself up from there? Maybe to get into the top half, maybe, you never know. A last to podium, last to win. You can never rule it out in such a league as the PRL. You get some fantastic racing here, and we've had some great racing so far this season, Reece, haven't we? In almost every single round that we've had some stunning side-by-side action, some stunning overtakes, and here at Barcelona, you touched upon how good this track is for sports car racing. Surely no different.
Yeah, indeed. All the way over at the left side of the screen there, the first corner here. It's a long run to the first turn from where the drivers are going to take the start. The start-finish line is only a short way out of the final corner, so we might see some slipstreaming right at the very start of the race. And you talked about potential last to first or last to podium challenges. Doug Sorrentino, once again, not setting a time in qualifying, and he's evidently doing that on purpose. We shall see if he can make his way further up from last in the LMP3 grid. 14th to a possible top 5. We'll have to wait and see how he goes there. But a short formation lap here at Barcelona. We're already getting ready for the start.
You've got to love a short formation lap from the simulator, of course. Yeah, I've had a full formation lap around the Nürburgring GP layout, and that was an absolute nightmare. But look at this. We only get a sector's worth of pace car running on the formation lap before we get this race underway. Through the final corner they're about to come, though, and it's going to be an incredibly important race, as we've touched upon, with Dayton Lowe leading the way, David Duino and Christian Garreton in behind. But we're going to go to green flag racing here in Barcelona for round 6 of PRL here, and let's see if the LMP3 GT4 challenge can deliver once again. It's a fantastic start from Dayton Lowe as he's gapped the field, with David Duino trying to tuck in behind. They're nearly 3 wide though into the opening corner as they dive their way through the 90-degree right-hander, but they're still side by side through turn 2 as they make their way up towards turn 3. In the GT4s, though, they're 3 wide into the lead, into turn 1, I should say, for the lead, as they make their way through those opening couple of corners, and I think they're all just about going to make their way through. Somehow they are. A little bit of rubbing at the back of the field, but some fantastic starts from a lot of these drivers in the field, and great to see it clean in the opening sector.
Yeah, indeed. Man, Aidan Young was almost in trouble there on the right side of the screen as the... that's a problem for Matthew Falk there in the LMP3s. He'll keep it going, though, as Dayton Lowe stretches his lead out. It's not plain sailing for Aidan Young, though. He's got those Porsches swarming all over the back of him. And have to say, it's been a really good start from Carter James in the Aston Martin as well. He's getting up to 4th place at the moment, just getting the move done on Darren Rutherford. One of the only Aston Martins in the field, as there's a Mercedes off in the gravel trap. Looks like Joshua Lewis as the LMP3s continue their way through. Relatively clean start here. Nice to see.
Yeah, good to see all of these guys making their way through nice and gently, you could say, in the opening lap, but there's still going to be moves down in towards this you could say newly reformed part of the racetrack. Of course, it's been slightly redesigned in recent years, but you can see not really anything able to be done there as we watch through the number 13 car of Darren Rutherford trying to defend his position after losing out to Carter James. But Reed Gibson, he looks keen early on.
Yeah, he certainly does. Reed Gibson looking quite the racy man here today. Let's see then how the lead goes for Aiden Young here. He's stretched it out a little bit, but Aaron Myers is crucially still in the slipstream. There's going to be a lot to play for coming towards the middle stage of the race. If they can stay within the slipstream of Young, then they might just be able to try and undercut him at the pit stop. There will be a pit stop coming up for both classes. They don't have enough fuel to make it to the end of the race.
Yes, of course, every race here in the LMP3-GT4 Challenge, there is that mandatory pit stop. You can take it whenever you want. We've seen it being taken right at the start, right at the end of the race as well, and anywhere in between. So the drivers do have a bit of ability to choose when they make their pit stop, to try the undercut, try the overcut, and see what works on their strategy. And it's going to be interesting to see what they can do here this evening. A few trains might allow a little bit more fuel saving, but if they stay in one big pack, you're not going to see much of a differential between drivers in that regard, because they really haven't broken up, have they? A lap and a half in now in this GT4 class, and they are running nose to tail. Oh, there's a spin, though, in the background through turns 7 and 8, I do believe. And who is that off in the background? Oh, and it's created even more carnage. I think there were 4 cars in the gravel there, with Derek Putnam coming off worst as he now drops to near the back of the field. But it was an awful little bit of an incident. I think it was a spin all on their own. I believe Joshua Lewis was it, maybe spinning on his own, but it created a bit of a knock-on effect. But we're going to have a look at a replay just to see what happened down at turn number 4. And look at this, nearly 3 wide as they made their way through. Down in towards turn 5. Oh, and that's Matthew Falk spinning himself around, and that's so heartbreaking on the opening lap.
Yeah, certainly is. If you're curious about what happened to Derek Putnam, well, you're right. He did spin on his own. Unfortunately, Travis Chapman was unable to alter his line in time and T-boned him. So that's the reason why we saw that brief chaos erupt just a few moments ago in the GT4s. Meanwhile, Joshua Lewis here, that's what happened to him on lap 1. Looks like just catching the curb in the wrong way and the car getting loose on him.
No.
Oh no, Dayton Lowe's around. That's the LMP3 leader.
He is, well, he was the pole sitter. He was leading the race. He's got the fast lap. You can see his name lit up in purple there, and he has spun himself around on the exit of 6 and 7 and 8, I should say. He bumps himself over that sausage curb, and I apologise for interrupting, Reese, but we don't often see a mistake from Dayton Lowe.
No, we don't. That's very uncharacteristic, and that has just blown the championship wide open, hasn't it? He was only a few points ahead of Alec Bergstrom. Bergstrom now running in 3rd, and Lowe has rejoined down in 13th, second last running of the LMP3s as the GT4 battles still go on here. Carter James still trying to keep Darren Rutherford behind him.
Yeah, and Darren Rutherford trying to regain that position that he lost on the opening lap to the 199 car. And let's see if he can do it as they run down in towards this, you could say, tight corner down at turn 10. Is there any move to be made? If anything, it's Reed Gibson trying to loop it around the outside in the number 12 car. Can he get that traction? I don't think he can. And he's got to be careful because there's a very keen driver tucked up right behind him looking to make the move in the form of Matthew Wyckoff. And if these guys make a mistake, there's even more drivers behind to capitalise on their errors.
Yeah, indeed. Well, the battle manages to sort itself out a little bit and see Gibson going over the yellow speed bump as we get another view of that GT4 crash we saw earlier, the McLaren of Josh Lewis spinning around, and then in came the BMW of Travis Chapman. Sorry, it's Derek Putnam, the McLaren that spun around there. The T-bone happened. A couple of cars having to take avoiding action there. Putnam and Chapman currently the last running of our GT4s. Looks like both Sean Mulholland and Jared Bridwell did not take to the start, and they didn't set times in qualifying either, as side by side between Brian Vos and Oleg Lovkov. Lovkov looking very fast in qualifying, but he fell down to 6th place by the end of the session. Now he's down to 7th in the race. Brian making up positions very steadily. He's up 3 spots.
Yeah, and Brian's had a great start, but Oleg Lovkov, he's been on form, hasn't he, lately? Had a couple of very, very good results in that 69 car. Looking to build on that here today, but been matched a little bit in the order in the opening stages. But Brian Vorch, he looks like a man on a mission in that number 10 car, and his next target will be Ryan O'Connor in the number 95. Lovkov, though, around the outside at turn 2. You don't make a move there, do you? Inside at turn 3. What a move from Oleg Lovkov if he can make this one stick for P6 in the race. I don't think any of us saw that one coming around the outside at turn 2. He's not got it done yet because around the outside you do get a nice bit of traction, as Brian Vorch will find out here at turn 4. But Oleg Lovkov controlling the inside line. It'll become the outside line for turn 5, which Brian Vorch will control. But this is a great little ding-dong battle. There's contact. They're both having a little bit of an incident, and that's going to allow more drivers into the battle. I think that's Gerald Yatadko coming through, looking for a move at turn 7, and my word, what a first lap of racing that was.
Yeah, he had to back off to Gerald Yatadko there and has now given up the position to Vincent Leroux. Yatadko actually quite slow indeed, and that means that Lovkov is going to get at least one position back. Oh man, but that was a bit of a messy battle in the end. They managed to keep it lovely and clean until they got to the hairpin. Just a shame to see, but regardless, Lovkov, as I said, looking very quick today as, oh dear, Leroux going wide there. Looks very slippery down at the third last corner tonight. 4-car battle for P7. Actually, it goes all the way back to P11, Doug Sorrentino. Well, I mentioned that he does his last to first challenges. It's battles like this where Sorrentino gets the advantage, and this is how strong the slipstream is.
Yeah, look at this, bump drafting down the front stretch towards the opening chicane, and I call it chicane, it's not really chicane, is it? But turns 1 and turn 2. But it's just so nice to see these drivers run so close together, and we get this high quality racing. I mean, going side by side from turn 1 all the way through to turn 7 and 8, that takes some skill, doesn't it? And it's great to see these guys able to do it side by side. As Carly James and Darren Rutherford, they continue their battle, P4 and P5. I don't think it's going to be over until the end of the race, quite frankly, because look at the train in behind. This is going to be a titanic battle as Rutherford around the outside looking to control it, but Carter James has got the inside line just to try and control that line, but it's so difficult when you've got such good traction around the outside at so many of these corners to try and make a move done on the inside, as Carter James and Darren Rutherford are finding out at the moment.
Yeah, side by side through the last couple of corners. They lose a lot of speed, and Reed Gibson is now right in the battle again. Carter James will hold on to the move here. A good exit from Gibson, but he can't move across just yet. This is a massive cork in the bottle scenario for P4 in the GT4 class. Carter James has held off battles from everyone behind him, and Gibson is going to stake his claim to be the attacker. But look at the Valhalla Porsche. They go around. Oh, that creates a bit of a pile-up.
And and there's even more contact in behind as there's trying an attempt at a rejoin, I think it's fair to say. I think that's Castillo Romero in his BMW having some issues. It's difficult not to spot him with his bright green tyres or his wheel rims, so unfortunate for him to be spinning around, but it's allowed the likes of Kalen Tobin up into P6, a position that I don't think he was expecting to be in about 45 seconds ago. Christopher Rosario and Matthew Wyckoff now in the battle for B7 as they now start to look at where their race is, because that's blown the midfield open completely. It was nice to see them racing side by side, but it was always going to happen. There's also been a crash in the LMP3s. Oh my word, that's Oleg Lovkov. And I think he's just lost it. It's not even Lovkov, I should say. And is that Doug Sorrentino spinning? He spun and he was spinning. And that just created a bit of a pile-up at turn 11. But so unfortunate there, because it's difficult to really change your line at that point.
Yeah, well, it involved Dayton Lowe as well, who's trying to recover after his solo spin from the lead earlier on. So that's another little chink in the armor of our championship leader coming into this round. Meanwhile, battle for third, Jake Browning catching up to Alec Bergstrom as they're making their way through the GT4 traffic. And, well, I was saying that traffic is going to be a bit easier to make your way through on this circuit, but not in the final sector. Bergstrom going for the pits early.
Yeah, maybe just trying to get himself out of that traffic early on, but you'd say that he's going to have to face it at some point. So, interesting decision from the championship contender. Once championship leader, and that's Gerald Yatadko going around at the final corner. Careful on the rejoin. He's going to be rejoining with drivers going much, much faster. And there's a little bit of a moment with Doug Sorrentino there, but Sorrentino manages to drive around him and avoid any kind of big pile-up. But that could have been much worse than it was.
Oh, dearie me. That was very awkward indeed for Gerald Yatadko, who lets Calvin Myant go on the way into turn 1. This is what happened here at the final corner to Yatadko. Just got tapped by the car behind as they were making their way through the traffic, and he tries to get going, but he rejoins right on the racing line at the exit of the corner, and you see that, oh man, Sorrentino having to back out of it there in the final corner. That's a very awkward scenario, especially considering your entry into the final corner is blind here.
Let's have a look at it here on board. And yeah, you can just see. I think the situation there is on board with number 3 of Vincent LaRue. There's another spin, and that's the GT4 spinning around as drivers trying to avoid there. As Carter James has gone around in the one. No, it's not. It's Jeff Calfold. Sorry, Carter James, Rick Gibson just fighting it out for P4, but Calfold going around in the number 65 car from the midfield battle. There's enough runoff area there that he can spin himself around, but we are starting to see some mistakes creep in as we approach half distance in this race.
Yeah, it was a very clean start in first couple of laps, but we unfortunately are starting to see this devolve into chaos, as that was the reason he spun around there. Did Kaufhold, just a little tap from the LMP3 as they made their way through the very fast turn at the top of the hill. This is the onboard view. The Valhalla Porsche could really do nothing here. It just looked like the LMP3 wasn't picking its exit properly.
Yeah, with going a little bit wide as well to boot, so definitely some issues there. Sam Mayorga's having some issues in the GT4 class. He's dropped behind Reed Gibson and maybe behind Kalen Tobin. Oh my word, look at that into turn 4, just in the background there. I think they were nearly 4 wide with 2 LMP3s and 2 GT4s, but they've all made it out alive, which is a surprise, I think it's safe to say. But looking at Carter James now, trying to defend from Reed Gibson. These two so close for so long in this race. They've now got to be careful because the LMP3s are coming through and they are not hanging around about it.
No, it seems like there's been some very aggressive passes being made here. This is the onboard from Sam Mayorga, who got tapped around by, looked like that was that Dayton Lowe, or was it one of the Geodesic cars? The number 73. It was Jake Browning, the Geodesic car, who spun him around there. And that was on the way through turn 3 there. That's such a shame there. You don't want to see that. There was plenty of space around the outside for the LMP3 to make the move.
Yeah, you just got to feel at the moment that it's like, who's looking out for the little guy at the moment? I mean, there's at least the 3rd time that we've seen a GT4 being tapped around to a spin, at least by one of the LMP3s. So some misjudgments, I think it's fair to say, coming into effect in medium speed corners. The LMP3s are faster. Of course, they're not much faster in the low speed corners, but there's not really any of them at this circuit, so they're going to have to be much more careful than they are being as we work our way through, but I'm sure that they're learning all the way through these 35 minutes. Overtake for Sam Mayorga on Kalen Tobin down in towards turn 1. And whilst that is happening, they're also being overtaken by, I believe that's Doug Sorrentino, making his way through the order, lapping the GT4s. So lots going on now. Lots of cars concentrated into this first sector. Not much going on at the back of the race circuit.
Indeed, Sorrentino is going to get up the inside of Carter James there, which is going to influence the battle that James is having with Reed Gibson in the Mercedes. Man, that P4 in GT4 has been up for grabs since the very start of the race. Carter James is the only Aston Martin in the GT4 field, and he's certainly been punching above his weight in a sea of Porsches and Mercedes.
It's just, there's not been much differential in choice, has there, in terms of the cars that have been chosen, and that's really because of the dominance of one or two. Here's Brian Vorch and Vincent LaRue fighting it out still. Vincent LaRue in the number 3 car, the purple and black, looking stealthy as we get in towards the evening light here in Barcelona. David Duino's gone fastest but Vincent LaRue is just looking to go ever so slightly faster if he can get through on the number 10 car. But Brian Vorch, he's been a man on a mission so far this evening, up to P6. He's dropped off the back of the likes of Oleg Lovkov in the last few laps, but he's still not too far back. The gaps aren't massive, and he's up 3 in this race, which is not a bad performance so far.
Yeah, certainly not. Doug Sorrentino, despite the couple of incidents and spins he suffered, still up 5 places from where he started. So he's the most positions gained in the GT4 field. In terms of the, in the LMP3 field. In terms of the GT4s, Roy Brown is your driver with the most positions gained. He's just gained another position to make it 7 up, as Francis Castillo Romero is the first of our GT4s to take a scheduled pit stop. So the battle continues between Derek Putnam and Darren Rutherford. Both drivers have had some kind of issue befall them over the course of this race. Putnam, of course, spinning at the chicane on the, I think, the 2nd lap or thereabouts. Darren Rutherford involved in the big pile-up at the 1st corner in that 4th place GT4 battle. But you can see the pace difference between these two. McLaren versus Porsche, and the McLaren still carrying some damage from those earlier runnings. Looks like Rutherford might just get the position here. He will indeed. It's yielded by Putnam.
Yeah, Putnam not able to really defend that one, and Rutherford up the order once again. Let's see how far he can go. Now, whilst I was on mute and forgot to unmute after having a bit of a slight cough, I was just mentioning LMP3 pit stops because you mentioned them just before, Reese. It's interesting to note, actually, that we've got Dayton Lowe in P8 only, and I say only, about... we're looking 15 seconds on the road ahead of Alec Bergstrom, who, of course, has taken his mandatory pit stop. So Alec Bergstrom really trying to take the initiative here to not so much as give up track position, but put himself into a scenario where he knows whereabouts he's going to come out in relation to his championship rival, because he's behind at the moment. So I think he's playing this quite smartly, he's playing this quite well, and it's going to help him, I think, in the latter stage of the race.
Yeah, I think things are going quite well for Bergstrom at the moment. For Dayton Lowe, though, as we see another view of LaRue making his way off the circuit at the hairpin, just very easy to go deep in there. It's so difficult to hit the apex at the hairpin. Yeah, Dayton Lowe, it's a difficult situation that he's in at the moment. He's already suffered that spin. He's cost himself a lot of time. He's definitely not going to be in contention for the win anymore, but if he can try and get more points versus Bergstrom, he might have a chance.
Yeah, and this is going to be really, really interesting just to see how this plays out, because Dayton Lowe, of course, with that mistake, I think it's fair to say, on the exit of turn 8, or through turn 7 and into turn 8, really costing him a lot of time, a lot of positions, and now he's on the fight back, and he has to really try and find a way past a few of these drivers who are driving very consistently, who are using the traffic to their advantage, whilst also keeping an eye on his championship rival Alec Bergstrom, because despite the fact that Dayton Lowe has been closing that gap and in fact taking the lead in the championship in the last couple of weeks, Alec Bergstrom is still on the pace. You cannot push him away. He's going to be right there all season long, and he's doing his best to really put himself into a position where he can retake that championship lead here tonight.
Yeah, it's fallen into Alec Bergstrom's lap here. And I mean, you can see that Dayton Lowe is the quicker of the two. He's trying desperately to make up that time, but it's proving very difficult indeed. Even if you are something around 0.8 of a second faster over the course of a lap, it's not going to be an easy task to pass Alec Bergstrom, let alone get back into the top 5 in the LMP3s. But he's got Brian Vorst now to make his way past. The battles continue in GT4 as well. We see the McLaren here of Robert McGeehan trying to defend from Darren Rutherford, who's absolutely charging up. We saw him make his way past Derek Putnam earlier. Plenty of space given between the two, and it looks like Rutherford will take that position nice and easy.
Yeah, and Rutherford doing some good work at the moment, as we're getting a A bit of a siesta on pit road at the moment. Hopefully no one's going to have a nap as they stop in their boxes. Nicely done by Jake Browning. How long is that stop going to be in the end? We're looking about 7 seconds. Or was Ryan O'Connor having to reverse on his mark? So he's going to lose a little bit of time doing that, doing a bit of a McLaren F1 pit stop there, which won't help him out at all. But let's see, he's going to emerge a 9-second stop. That's lost him 2 seconds or so.
Yeah, something like that. It just shows how brutal it is when you miss your pit box in iRacing. You know, it takes some extra time for the virtual pit crew to get into position to up the fuel. Tire pit stops usually aren't a thing in this series. The tires can easily last the 35-minute race length, but yeah, if your fuel man has to shuffle a little bit to get into position, then that costs you valuable time. More pit stops happening in GT4, by the way. It looks like our leader, Aiden Young, as well as P2, Aaron Myers, have come in. Carter James and Kalen Tobin, who are the odd ones out in the Aston Martin and the BMW, respectively, getting it done as well, as Dayton Lowe passes Brian Vos for current P3 in LMP3. But we can't forget that our top 6 in the top class have yet to make their way into the pits.
Also worth noting, actually, that Dayton Lowe is only, I say only in quotation marks, really, but it's really only 21 seconds off the back of David Duino, who, of course, was on provisional pole for a time. He had the fastest lap not too long ago, so he's done a very good job to be that close to really the front of the field, and it's going to be interesting to see when all the pit stops are taken in the end where he does shake out, because I mean, I mentioned near the start of the race, some people take their pit stops early, like we saw Alex Bergstrom. Some people take them in the middle of the race, as we're seeing somewhat here and in the last couple of laps. Some, like Duino, Garrett, Dayton Lowe, waiting right till the end to make their stop. So it's a bit of a splash and dash to get themselves to the flag. And let's see if that's going to work out for the 708 car, because this could be a really important drive for his championship challenge if he's able to recover. But look at that, that's Doug Serentino, who's having a torrid day as he, oh my word, launches himself over that sausage curb. Nearly going into orbit there at turn 2, but he is just having so many issues here tonight.
Oh yeah, just lost the rear, and then the car snapped in the other direction on him. Good on him to keep it out of the wall, but unfortunately, those speed bumps there, they make a bit of a chicane, and you have to make your way around them, not over them, as he would have found out the hard way just a few moments ago. We'll see if Sorrentino will... Oh, there's the onboard view there. Just, you know, little jump over at the Tesco car park or something to that effect. Certainly not going to be doing the floor any favors, as Reed Gibson is our final GT4 to make his way into the pits, and that cleanses our GT4 field on board with Aiden Young as he retakes the lead. It's been a good pit stop from him. It was a longer pit stop than Aaron Myers, but the pace that Aiden Young has under him has been enough to negate that advantage.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. Do you have Tesco's over in Australia, Reese?
No, we don't. I just figured I'd do something that's a bit closer to home for you.
Well, thank you. You know, Walmart for the Americans listening. Target. Yeah. You know, that took me back. I wasn't expecting that from you, Reese, but I love the reference. And yeah, definitely bouncing your way across. And actually my local Tesco does have a speed bump like that, so very much close to home. Battle for P7 at the moment in the class is between Alec Bergstrom and Calvin Myant, but that isn't really the reality that we're facing, because Myant hasn't pitted, Bergstrom has pitted, and the likes of course, Duino, Garrett, Lowe, we are still awaiting them in the pit lane, so we're still trying to work out where we think Alec Bergstrom's going to be. We're likely to be in the lead, at least in the top 3, but I think we're going to see those pit stops in the next couple of laps.
Yeah, we will see. Jake Browning ahead of Alec Bergstrom and has pitted. It was a much quicker pit stop that Jake Browning had just a few laps ago. 8.8 seconds versus 9.4 for Alec Bergstrom. So Browning definitely able to push the margin a little more as our leaders in LMP3 have made their way into the pits. David Duino and Christian Garreton there. We'll see if Dayton Lowe decides to follow them in and what kinds of pit stops we can expect from our top runners here. Remember, around 8 to 9 seconds is the typical pit stop length in an LMP3, and it's a solid 8.5 for David Duino. But it doesn't look like Alec Bergstrom has gotten very close to him there. Dayton Lowe will make his way into the pits, as well as Brian Vorse and Vincent LaRue. So the amount of LMP3s out there not taking a pit stop rapidly diminishing.
Yeah, Alec Bergstrom, he's basically emerged in P4 now. David Duino leading the race, such great pace over the course of this one. Mayan Lovkov 5th and 6th, and then we look further back in the order to see Ryan O'Connor ahead of Dayton Lowe. So really, there's only 4 cars between the 2 championship contenders at the moment, which is less than I was expecting. I'll put my hands up to that one. So a great job done by Dayton Lowe. Let's see if he can improve his position, maybe get past Ryan O'Connor as well, or if Alec Bergstrom can try and improve from there. But it looks like Calvin Mayan might become maybe a little bit of a problem if he's close. And Oleg Lovkov as well, only about 3 seconds back from Alec Bergstrom, could come into play. But time is ticking away. 7 minutes 40 left on the clock, and it's looking increasingly good for David Duino in this race. 8 seconds in the lead for the number 5 car, and he's looking set to take a win here.
Indeed he is. Side by side between the teammates of Lovkov and Mayant, and looks like Lovkov making his way past without much fuss, and now Ryan O'Connor will find his way past again. Looks like Calvin Mayant's not really pushing. He just wants a few points. He doesn't want to battle too hard, but I sense a battle starting to form for second place in the LMP3s, as there's some big technical issues there for a few drivers. Christian Garreton, having just come out of the pits, he's only 7/10 ahead of Jake Browning, so there's plenty to play for in that battle for P2.
Yeah, this is going to be really, really important, I think, for the championship. A couple of pit stops still ongoing, of course. I think that's Calvin Mayan, finally coming into the box, releasing Lovkov for 5th, and really releasing Dayton Lowe for P7s, which increases his points tally comparatively to Alec Bergstrom. So good news there for the 708 car as he continues to close on Ryan O'Connor. In the GT4s, though, you know, there's been so much racing going on across the field. Oh, there's a slowdown for Reed Gibson. He's going to lose out to Carter James here. He might lose out to Sam Mayorga, his teammate. Mayorga goes around the outside. There's an LMP3, I believe that is Vincent LaRue coming through. But here comes Mayorga, inside line of his teammate of Reed Gibson, and Mayorga looking to take that position for P4. Down the inside at turn 4, it'll become the outside line for turn 5. Can he make this one stick, or can Reed Gibson just about hold him off? It looks like Mayorga's got half a car length in front, but he's got the outside line as they work their way down the hill. We've seen such great side-by-side action, haven't we? Reese, you called it at the top of the broadcast, and as I think that's going to be a sweeping move from Sam Mayorga. It's such good racing, and it's so good to see these guys fighting side-by-side all the way through the opening 2 sectors.
Yeah, and I'm sure Carter James will be loving it too. The teammates have cost each other a bit of time with that battle. In terms of Gibson's pit stop, it's abnormally quick. I'm seeing 11.5 seconds in the box for Reed Gibson. Compare that to around 15 seconds for just about everybody else, save for Aaron Myers. So that's the reason why Gibson was ahead of James at that point, but a mistake, unfortunately, putting that advantage completely under the water. So I wonder now if Reed Gibson has enough fuel to make it to the end of the race. There's only 5 minutes to go. A miscalculation at that stage could prove disastrous.
Yeah, and I think we've seen it. I think we've seen it so far this season once or twice, haven't we? A couple of drivers have run out of fuel. I think once, if my memory serves. Then again, my memory's not the strongest, so don't trust me on that one. But it can be tight on the field, especially for the people like Alec Bergstrom, who pitted early. So that could be interesting to see. But yeah, those guys have pitted more recently. Splash and Dash, they may have underfueled ever so slightly in the hope of skimping their way home as much as they can. But let's just watch this one out. 4 minutes to go. Not many laps at all on the counter. And David Duino is going to be coming around the final few corners pretty soon now. So we're looking at, what, another 3 laps to go in this race, just about, before we find the line. It's going to be tight, I think, whether we get a 4th.
Yeah, will be very tight indeed, which means there's not much time for Dayton Lowe to try and make this move on Ryan O'Connor, trying to late apex the third last corner here for a better run through the last two. For the time being, it looks like Ryan O'Connor has the advantage, but remember that Dayton Lowe holds the fastest lap of the race. In fact, he took it on the last lap. The 36.4 on this lap for Dayton Lowe. Compare that to a 37.0 for O'Connor, and you can definitely see where the advantage is. Meanwhile, Carter James, he's found himself in third in GT4, but he's under a lot of pressure now from Sam Mayorga, who's managed to get it done there on the exit. Some blistering pace from the 83 here as the LMP3s come through.
Yes, some fantastic work done there as we run our way through. Look at this, through the final corner. So close between the LMP3 and the GT4 cars. Ryan O'Connor finding it out with Dayton Lowe there. You can see down in towards turn 5 they will dive, and Dayton Lowe looking for the move. There's a GT4 in the way. It's going to allow Ryan O'Connor back through, but Dayton Lowe hasn't given this one up. It's to the scene of the accident that we go, 7 and 8, where he spun earlier on in the race, as that's a very defensive line there thrown by the number 95 of Ryan O'Connor. But Dayton Lowe doing everything he can just to try and work his way into the mirrors, try and find his way through, and let's see if he's
wide.
able to do so.
Looks like Ryan O'Connor just went wide there on the way into the hairpin, and that's allowed Dayton Lowe through, I think just overshooting the brakes a little.
There, isn't it, really down in towards such a difficult braking zone, and it means that Dayton Lowe has got a free run at it now, doesn't he? So I think he will just try and pull away, but then again, Oleg Lovkov isn't too far in front either. The 69 car definitely within reach.
Yeah, Lovkov will definitely have a chance to make his way past. Lovkov will certainly have a chance to defend, at the very least, in these last two laps. Dayton Lowe hasn't quite reached the heights of his 1 minute 35.9 fastest lap of the race he set a couple of laps ago, but now I think he just needs to focus on getting to the finish. He's already had one big scare this time around.
Yeah, he doesn't want another one, does he? Especially this late on with so little time that he would be left able to recover. But Dayton Lowe doing his absolute best to just put as much pressure on Oleg Lovkov as he can. But here's David Duino coming down, overlapping, I should say, not just overtaking, lapping a couple of these GT4s. He'll come through this final sector and will start the final lap in the not too distant future, as we see a couple of drivers shifting around. I think that may just be a timing page, a little bit of a glitch there, but regardless, David Duino won't care as long as he can hold it together into this final tour. That 6-second gap is looking unassailable.
Yeah, he just needs to be consistent now. He can afford to back off a little bit if he wants to, but it'll certainly increase a little bit of risk for him if he does. But yeah, less than 30 seconds to go on the timer, and it looks like the lead is fully secure at the moment for David Duino. Question is, the positions up for grabs: Sam Mayorga, Carter James, and Reed Gibson in the GT4s, the third place battle. Aiden Young is far away from that. He's going to be coming up to his final lap in just a couple of corners.
Yeah, it's a bit of a long distance, isn't it? We've seen a couple of times so far this season very close finishes between the leader of the LMP3s and the leader of the GT4s. Not so much happening this evening, but Aiden Young, another stellar drive from him as well. The winning margins are going to be relatively equal, around that 6-second margin. So good to see in that regard, but you can't take it away from David Duino this evening, can you?
No, absolutely not. He's been consistent. He's been fast, you know, qualified on the front row. So it's been an absolutely stellar drive from the Geodesic Racing number 5. He's barely had any pressure behind him ever since that unfortunate incident for Dayton Lowe. Just a couple of corners to go now for him, and he'll get some big points from this round.
Number 5 car, David Duino, he is driven absolutely impeccably this evening here at Barcelona, and he is going to come through for a deserved win in round 6 of the LMP3-GT4 Challenge, as David Duino is our winner at Barcelona. Christian Garreton, a fully deserved P2, as he picks up some important points in his championship battle, with Jake Browning coming home in 3rd. Bergstrom will be 4th ahead of Lovkov and Dayton Lowe, as Dayton Lowe will only be in the end 2 positions behind his championship rival, allowing us a very, very close championship with only 3 more rounds to go. But through the final section will come with Aiden Young, who is leading the GT4 class by 6 seconds as well. Again, just like David Duino, Reece, you have to say it's very well deserved if he can just get this one to the end.
Yeah, absolutely. Aiden Young, I mean, you know, seeing him in the lead of the GT4s in this series is something that I think we've all gotten used to seeing, but it takes nothing away from the supreme capabilities that he has in that Mercedes. Pole position by a good margin and leading pretty much all the way. He was under pressure at the start, but across the line, it'll be yet another win on the books for the 427.
And he'll extend that championship lead ahead of everybody else, but particularly Aaron Myers, who is in P2, picking up as many points as he can, doing a fine job in that. Some burnouts, a little bit of a burnout going on there for Aiden Young, just to celebrate his win, yet again winning in this series. Sam Mayorga looks like he's just going to be able to hold off Carter James and Reed Gibson as they make their way up towards the line, but they have got absolutely no time left in their races either. But I mean, overall, Reece, I mean, this has been such a messy race, with drivers all over the place. There were spins, there was some taps, there was some help given to the GT4s for the LMP3s. We had pit stops either side of the halfway mark, and I think we can have a look at exactly how we all ended up after 35 minutes of racing here at the circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya. And in the end, as we've just seen, David Duino is our winner, very deservedly so as well, as he wins by 6 seconds for the Hydro Race Geodesic Racing team. Sim Total races second with Christian Garreton, with Jake Browning, David Duino's teammate, coming home for P3, and a great day for the team. Alec Bergstrom, championship contender, will be in P4, and he gains points on Dayton Lowe, who finished 6th, with Oleg Lovkov splitting the difference. Ryan O'Connor, Vincent LaRue, Brian Vorch, and Ray Bartnikovsky, a name we didn't really mention during the race, quietly went about his business, came home for P10. Doug Sorrentino, Calvin Myant, Matthew Falk, and Gerald Yatadko running out all 14 drivers who started the race, meaning all 14 finished, which is something I don't think we've been able to say much so far this season, with some of the hectic races we've had so far, but credit to all of these drivers for getting home. In the GT4s, though, it was Aiden Young who won out by 6 seconds ahead of Aaron Myers, as that championship battle continues to rumble on. Sam Mayorga, a very deserved P3, ahead of the Aston Martin of Carter James, and the Mercedes of Reed Gibson. The BMW of Caelan Tobin was 6th, ahead of the drivers who finished a lap down to the overall leader, David Duino. Joshua Lewis, Francis Castillo-Romero, Darren Rutherford, and Christopher Rosario, the top 10. We roll on to see even more of our GT4 drivers, Roy Brown and Pascal Dufresne, Derek Putnam, Robert McGeehan, Jeff Calfold, and Travis Chapman, the 16 drivers that finished the race. Only 3 retirements from the field of 33. Matthew Wyckoff, Sean Mulholland, and Jared Bridwell, those 3 drivers. And overall, I think it's fair to say, Reece, that even though we had those incidents, it was so good to see such great racing all the way through from all of these guys.
Yeah, certainly was. I'm really impressed with the action that we've seen here today. Obviously, it did get messy in a couple of stages, but you never know. It would always be a possibility that we'd see some chaos erupt at Barcelona. It's certainly a fantastic circuit to watch racing at, but it looks like we do have our drivers in for interviews. The first one we're going to talk to is our LMP3 winner, David Duino.
Hey, how's it going?
Evening, David. Congratulations on your win. A very, very good drive. I think there's a tinge of, well, championship contention maybe with that win. I mean, looking a little bit further off with Bergstrom and Lowe still scoring some good points. But, I mean, what a drive from Stephen. You must be really, really pleased.
Yeah, I want to thank all my guys that Hydro Race Geodesic. They've been putting together some great sets and finally able to pull it all together. So yeah, it was a good race, nice and consistent. Slowly pulled away from Christian. Super bummed for Dayton. Like, he had mega pace at the start at least. Seemed to continue from what I could see. So it's a bummer I didn't get to race him to the end, but still a very solid race on my end.
And for the team as well, double podium, that must really give a good boost to all of the guys at Geodesic.
Yeah, it's a shame Peter wasn't here. We couldn't lock out the podium, but still, I think Jake and I are both very pleased with our podium and or both of our podiums, excuse me. So it's a good day all around for us.
And with the pace you've showed, of course, we've still got 3 weeks left. Is there any races upcoming that you're looking at, thinking maybe I can get another win to the tally?
Road America is another good track for me, so I'm really excited to build off this momentum and see what we can do going into the next couple of weeks and finish out the season.
Well, congratulations, David. I mean, full credit to you. Very deserved win, and hopefully we'll be able to speak to you in the coming weeks.
Yeah, let's hope so. Y'all take care.
Adriano, there our LMP3 winner, and an absolutely dominant drive in the end. Didn't really look back off of the line. Well, I say off the line after he, of course, was able to get through on Dayton Low. But Reese, I see that you've got Aiden Young to speak to.
I have indeed. GT4 winner once again in the fiercely forward Mercedes. It didn't look as easy at the start as it has for you in the past, Aiden. That was a bit of a scintillating first lap.
Yeah, well, you know, when I saw Sam and Aaron link up, I'm like, no, you do not. I'm like, I am not letting you double team me. This is not going to happen. So I knew going into turn 1 I had to send it. Otherwise, I'd probably have to race Aaron a bit longer. So going into turn 1, you know, I know Aaron's a good driver. He's clean. He'll leave you the room so you can have a good bit of battling. So through that, so those first 3 corners we had a good bit of battle, and then I think he ran just a little bit too wide, and then he had to tuck back behind me. But yeah, after I got that move done, retaking the lead from the start, I just focused on pushing forward, trying to build a gap like I do in each race. So that way when traffic came through, it'd be a little bit more, I guess you could say, like, room for mistakes. So if I would have made a mistake, I would have enough of a gap to where it wouldn't really matter. And I just tried to stay calm as well, just run solid, consistent, clean laps, and it worked.
It certainly did. Well, 3 rounds to go in the championship. Which track jumps out at you as the one where you think you're maybe going to have to battle a little harder?
Well, I'm gonna say Road America, which I'm pretty sure is next week. So I love Road America though. So I mean, if you won't beat me at Road America, you gotta be on your A game, because I will battle the crap out of you if you want that win, because I love that track so much. Almost got to co-drive there this year, but unfortunately it didn't happen. But that I'll probably struggle a little bit, because, you know, that's track with long straightaways. It's got multiple of them. It's got the front straight, got the Sargento Cheese straight with the Sargento Cheese bridge, and then you got the Speedville corner, and you got the little kink leading onto the long back straightaway, which pretty sure might be all flat out. So draft's going to come into play massively at that track. So it's all going to come down to qualifying and then who will get the best race start there. Obviously, you know, but because of the draft, you'll probably see a pretty good fair amount of battles.
Indeed, he is hoping. Well, thanks very much for joining us, Aiden. Congratulations on yet another win with maximum points on the board. We'll chat to you next week.
I will see you next week. But let me just say, I'm a HAPPY, in the words of Ken Miles from Ford v Ferrari.
Absolutely, as you should be. Aiden Young there. Fantastic drive once more in the GT4 category. A driver that had to battle his way back to a podium position, meanwhile, Dara. Sam Mayorga, who joins us now.
Evening, Sam. Congratulations on your podium. You must be really pleased with that, because that did look like quite a dogfight for most of that race.
Oh my goodness, yeah, absolutely. I think it was really well earned, and early on in the race, I set myself up pretty well. Couldn't keep the pace of the top 2 cars, but that was totally okay. But as you might have seen, get spun by an LMP3 car and had to battle my way back and hit it a lap early. And, I was really riding on the limit, especially being at 11 and 12X incidents, and I somehow made it happen. So I'm really excited about that.
Let's do some of the racing though, because we saw some great side-by-side action with you, all the way side-by-side through turn 3, 4, 5. How easy was it to run right up close to some of your other competitors?
Absolutely, yeah. I'm really lucky that some of the racing was done with Reed Gibson, one of my teammates, and it's been super easy to trust him. He's been awesome, putting me with the Chicken House group and kind of getting me into this league and really getting me into GT4 in general. So being able to race with him was really cool. And then, really fighting for P3. I know I had the pace, and I just had to kind of keep it cool. And, I eventually reaped the rewards of my pace.
Yeah, and you really deserve to reap those rewards. Looking forward, though, only 3 rounds left. Not many more opportunities to pick up points, podiums, wins. Is there anywhere on the calendar left that you're really looking at, thinking that's going to be where I'm looking to get that win?
Well, yeah, I think looking forward to Road America. It's one of my favorite tracks. Especially having some family in Wisconsin. So, I'm really looking forward to that. And we'll just see how good I can do each of the tracks and just try to adapt as good as I can with the Cayman.
Yeah, we wish you the best of luck in doing that. Well done, Sam.
Multi-purpose venue, and it's been around for quite some time, has Fuji. It's got obviously a big footnote in Formula One history as being the host of the 76 and 77 Japanese Grands Prix, which were massively affected by rain. And if you've watched the movie Rush, then you certainly know the significance of that. But yeah, we go to Road America next week for this series as well, so it'll be a double Road America fest next week, then Barcelona, and then Le Mans to end off the season in this IMSA Spec series. Absolutely love this schedule, and just like LMP3 and GT4, we've seen some brilliant races being thrown up.
Yeah, I have to say, I was ill last week and I was gutted to miss Interlagos, but I was able to catch up with it, of course, on RaceSpotTV's YouTube, and it was such a good race. So, a great calendar, and looking forward to Le Mans as well, with round 9 rolling in only 3 weeks' time, and there's going to be a lot of these drivers hoping to be top of the point standings, but in the GTPs, you're going to be hard-pressed to be beating anybody. If your name isn't Pat Belcher, I should say. 227 is his points tally, with a 29-point margin. Doesn't seem like a lot. With the point system here in PRL, that's going to be quite a margin to overturn if you're Nathan Bartley or Graham Wildmon, tied on 198. Bradley Holly, the man with the TCAM in P4, with Alex de Almeida in P5. Jeremy Carter, Darian Roy, and Jack Hedgecock fighting it out for P6, with Rodrigo Abreu and Nicholas Schwartz rounding out that top 10. In the teams for the GTP standings, there's a nice little bit of a close battle. Solpec Precision Racing QC are only 3 points ahead of Whataback Racing Overdrive, as that championship battle will continue all the way to the final lap at the Circuit de la Sarthe. Go Win Racing are in P3 with Blue McCaw, E Motorsports, and Solpec Precision Racing Can P4 and P5. Pax Oceani a P6 with Simcar on their own in P7. Fiercely Forward and Vice 8th and 9th. Vice not off of the mark, not just about 10 teams, but a good championship battle in there regardless. But that, of course, not the only championship here in the GTP-GT3 series, because in the GT3 standings, Brett Gardner leads the way by 13 points ahead of Jake Cummings. It's a relatively comfortable gap, but as we saw in the last race, those gaps can close quite quickly. Ted Levendick is third with Chris Stewart and Eric Fenson, the leader of the Fenson brothers, in P5, but he's only 5 points ahead of his brother William, who is in P6. Evan Henneman, Bowie Suen, Daniel Trinker, and Richard Saavedra are the top 10 in these standings, and they could all be looking for a good finish by the time we finish at the Circuit de la Sarthe. It's Tech Sport Academy by AMS who lead the way in the teams, though, by a much more comfortable margin of, 68 points ahead of the Fenson brothers. Drive Trainer Motorsports and Take On SimSports third and fourth. DFL Racing, Big Fast Racing, and Solpec Precision Racing, lots of racing, are in the top 7, with AGS Blackthorn and Whataback Racing back row rounding out the 19th. But we've got all of the point standings out of the way. We know where we stand, Reese. This should be a good race at a track where we see so much sports car racing.
Yeah, absolutely. And interesting to note that we are running the no chicane layout of this circuit. So it's a pretty quick lap around here. We're seeing 124.1 or thereabouts from Pat Pelchat, who's currently on provisional pole in the GTPs. Some interesting goings on in the GT3s as well. It seems like our championship leader, Brett Gardner, only can manage P3 for the time being, because William and Eric Fenson are your top two. This is a really good run for the Fenson Ferraris. They are fast today.
And you'd have to say that I think if it gets a little bit too close, it might become a little bit personal between the brothers William and Eric. It might become a little bit more bragging rights over the dinner table over who is going to try and win the race. They're doing a very good job the time being. Pat Pelchat coming into the pit lane as he looks pretty comfortable, doesn't he? Nearly 4 tenths ahead, more than a third of a second ahead of Nathan Ray, but the gap between Ray and Schwartz only 6,000. So clearly the gaps aren't consistent throughout the field, which is good to see. We're seeing Eric Fenson struggling a little bit over those curbs, but maybe a bit of a heartbreak for the brothers because Corey Ciccone, he's gone 2 tenths clear.
Yeah, fantastic job from Corey Ciccone, who's finally repping the Corvettes like they want. But we'll have to wait and see if there's any kind of comeback from the Fensons and whether or not the Tech Sport cars will be able to run their way up the order. This is going to be an interesting end to the qualifying session.
Yeah, let's see if anybody can improve. Jeff Evans is up to P9 in the GTPs. From P10, let's see if that could improve his chances in the race, but it's going to be difficult from where he is. Nice that we, to an extent, that we have those 10 in GTP, because they will be there constantly. There'll be no worry for you guys at home and looking at the timing screens and wondering where your favourite driver may be, but there are the 10 drivers there. A couple of drivers haven't been able to make laps in this session, Bradley Holly being one of them, so he's going to have some difficulties during the race, and we'll have to see if he can work his way through here at Fuji on the on the foothills of Japan's most famous mountain, which does provide such a fitting backdrop for a circuit that provides such exciting racing action and enthralling racing action with long straights, open corners, but also some tight sections of the racetrack as well.
Yeah, particularly in the final sector, basically a double hairpin to end the lap here at Fuji, which is going to result in a bit of drama, I think, when the classes come together during the race. We've seen some good racing at Fuji in PRL this season, particularly in Super Formula. So I'm definitely optimistic for a good race today, but I think a long race distance at 45 minutes in length, it's going to be difficult. There's only 20 seconds remaining on the clock, and it looks like one of the Tech Sport cars coming to the finish here. Brett Gardner setting a 1:37.0, and man, that's only a couple of hundredths off his fastest. I think just about confirmed your pole man for this race in the GT3s.
Not by much, though, and he'll be having a bit of a tight time of it, I think it's fair to say, in this race. And you mentioned the Super Formula Lights, and the Super Formula Cars, great series. And for those of you watching this series, if you haven't seen that, go and check it out on the RaceSpotTV YouTube channel, because that is some fantastic racing week in, week out. But as we are here at Fuji for the GTP GT3 series, we can bring you the grid for what should hopefully be 45 minutes of quality racing action here from Japan. And on pole position will be the championship leader Pat Pelchat. Who else at this point, as he leads the field to green ahead of Nathan Ray, Nicholas Fartz and Rodrigo Abrao, who are on the second row. Graham Wildmon and Jack Hedgecock's 5th and 6th, as they're not too far away, only about half a second off of the pole time, which is much closer than we have seen previously. Jerome Berthiaume is 7th ahead of Bradley Holly, who did get set a lap time, Alex de Almeida, Jeff Evans and Darian Roy, the 11 drivers, not quite the 10, but the 11 drivers in the GTP category that will be going to green. Over in the GT3s though, bit of a bigger field, bit more chunky, and a closer set of times to show it. Corey Saccone is leading the way at the front of the field. Gotta get my words out this evening. Brett Gardner is in P2, less than a tenth off of the big fast racing driver. William Fenson and Eric Fenson, third and fourth. That's going to be a little bit tetchy down in towards turn one, I think it's fair to say. Jake Cummings and Ted Lovendick are on the third row, just in behind to pick up any of the pieces that could be spilt. Chris Stewart and Mark Kalin, 7th and 8th, with Travis Pruitt and Sean Stecker on the 5th row. Sean Murphy and Gabriel Alvarado are in 11th and 12th as the grid rolls on. We have more drivers that will be starting this race in the form of TJ Yankee, Bowie Sewell, Evan Henneman and Kerry Corcoran, Doug Evans and Richard Saavedra at the top 18 drivers. And I do believe we have one or two more. I might be misled in that opinion, but I believe we have Corey Fenson. There he is, Corey Fenson in P19 at the back of the field. 30 cars that are about to be led to green flag running, and 45 minutes on the clock. It's a slightly longer race, of course, than we have in the challenge race, so a little bit more time for these guys to sort themselves out, but we always see some close racing in this series.
Yeah, we absolutely do. It's not always as close for the lead, particularly if you're talking in the GTPs with Pat Pelchart's form. But the battles for second on back in GTP and all the way through the field in the GT3.
Through the screen to complete the opening lap, Pat Pelchart leading the way nicely with Graham Wildmon not too far back in the picture as well. So the Graham fans in the chat, I am sure, will be very pleased to see him up in P2 in the early stages. There's a couple of moves being thrown to the inside at the opening corner. Such a tight corner, and with the camber, it can be difficult to really judge exactly where to pick your braking zone when making a move, but drivers working their way through 2 in towards turn 3, and it's difficult to run through there as well, because this track, you can go side by side, but at times it can be quite a risk to do so.
Yeah, especially coming into the final sector. It's easy to force a side-by-side move, but whether or not you can maintain it is another matter entirely. The GT3 battle. Look at this. This is insane. The field is still so close together here on their second lap of racing. Saccone has not been able to get away from Fenson, who runs wide through the corner, and that's going to allow Brett Gardner past into P2 as I don't know if it was a latency issue or whether or not Jake Cummings has actually lost his front bumper. It looks like he has. What on earth has gone on there for Jake Cummings?
Disaster if that is the case for him. He's not seeming to lose too much time for the time being, so either maybe visual or, not losing him much at all, because he's sticking right behind William Fenson through the flick. That is turn number 10, I believe that was, as we work our way into the final sector of the racetrack. You did mention before how it's pretty much 2 hairpins, and we're going through the first of those now, through 14 and 15 in towards turn 16 at Panasonic, as William overtakes his brother Eric down in towards the final corner. They'll make their way now down towards turn 1 with slipstream galore coming into effect, and this could end up 3 wide at the opening corner.
Yeah, what this has all resulted in is Brett Gardner and Corey Saccone with a massive run on the way down into turn 1. They're a long way ahead of the rest of the GT3 field. The Fensons trying to assist each other in the slipstream, but they've got a long draft train behind them. Jake Cummings still holding on, still has no front bumper on the car. And a little bit of time lost for Eric Fenson as he tries to pursue his namesake William. Back up to the GTPs meanwhile, Graham Wildman back behind Rodrigo Abreu now. Rodrigo has been one of the quicker drivers in the GTP field at times, but his results haven't quite reflected his pace. He'll be hoping for a good finish here tonight, and if he can hold on to this, it'd certainly be a great points haul for him.
He's had a couple of incidents, hasn't he, so far this season, a couple of moments that have cost him some big points, so he'll be hoping to get onto the podium here today and get himself back into that conversation for looking at maybe top 5 in the championship for the number 14 car. But for Graham Wildmon, he was in that battle for P2 in the championship. He cannot really allow many points to start slipping away from him. But the man in one of my favourite liveries on the grid is still in P4. He's still had a good start, and he's still going to be looking to sneak onto that podium at some point during this race. He's just got to be careful of the likes of Nicholas Schwartz, who's looked very quick in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, Nicholas in the Acura is looking quick as per usual, and Wildman's last lap was way off. That's the reason why Abrao made his way past. Meanwhile, up in GT3, Jake Cummings could be losing P5 pretty soon if Ted Lowendick has anything to say about it. Hard on the brakes coming into the hairpin. Got to keep it nice and smooth on your way down the hill, and then on your way to Coca-Cola Corner, this very fearsome left-hand. It's difficult in a prototype, to say nothing of it in a GT3, as a position had to be given up there by Mark Kalin, who, interesting to see, is not in a Mustang for this round. I think he might have selected a Corvette in error. I mean, there is a livery for it, but we become used to seeing Mark Kalin in the other American car in this field.
Yeah, so interesting choice. Maybe a swap, maybe not. But he is still in this battle, and it's not really preventing him from having any kind of fight, as he's running the back of Gabriel Alvarado in the number 3 car in the big green machine as they work their way in towards the final sector. But yeah, this is a good foundation, I think, for a very good race, as we're seeing lots of drivers looking like they're trying to work their way through, trains forming as well, and championship stories to be written as we go into the next 38 minutes.
Oh, this is a story to be told here. Gabriel Alvarado almost getting sent by Mark Kalin, who sits in the slipstream down the front straight. This is one of the longest start-finish straights of any former Formula One circuit, and Kalin's just going to pop out. By the time they get to the start-finish line, he'll have a little bit of overlap. By the time they get to turn 1, they almost bang wheels on the way into the braking zone. Kalin will get the move done into turn 1. That was a textbook maneuver right there.
And a very, very good job done by him. Look at that inside line now. For Jake Cummings, got the move done on Ted Lovendick in the number 72 car. A man who's been on pole so far this season, so definitely got a little bit of pace up his sleeve. He can pull it out when it matters. Fuji, of course, very different to Daytona, where he did take that pole position, so maybe a little bit of a change in that regard, but Lovendick very clearly having that ability. We're, 8 minutes into this race now, and Pat Pelchat already starting to lap the GT3s.
Yeah, it's Doug Evans that he just made his way past, and Evans is a long way off the rest of the GT3s to the tune of about 6 seconds, but that gap is made up massively by the GTPs. This is a very awkward place for Pelchat to be coming up on the slower class here, the twisty final sector. He's going to have to give up a lot of time here. He'll probably be happy that he built up the gap he did, because he's going to lose quite a chunk of it.
Yeah, let's see if he can try and make this up, really, because, of course, he will get through, or you'd think he'd get through the GT4s faster, and then everyone else behind him is then going to have the issue of catching and overtaking the GT4s. But look at that. You'd want to be right behind that train of 4 or 5 directly or immediately after you get onto this big, long main straight, but he's going to have to use most of it just to gain up to the back of just 1. He goes past 1. Will he go past 2 and 3 into the braking zone? 1, 2, 3, looking for a 4th on, I think that's Corcoran that he's going for, and Corcoran is dispatched, which means that there's only 10 more. You can count them on your 2 hands when he works his way through. But look at this side-by-side action, including with the GT4, between Bradley Holly and I believe that's Jack Hedgecox, as they make their way down in towards turn 3, as they're still fighting with the GT3s in the way.
Yeah, that was a brilliant positioning by Jack Hedgecox. He managed to get himself a little hole of clear air to get the move done on Bradley Holly, and Rodrigo Abrao and Graham Wildman are together once again, having to both make compromises somewhere along the line here. They'll make their way through. They'll have to pincer move the Mustang there of Gabriel Alvarado, and Wildman up the inside of Abrao when they get to the final sector. That was a brilliant overtake.
Yeah, great stuff there from Rodrigo Brown. He's now right on the back, from Graham Wildmon,
Oh,
with Rodrigo Brown
Hedgecox.
right on the back of him. That's Hedgecox going around, though, after the little flick right down at turn number 10 at the Dunlop corner. He's now got a little bit of work to do to try and recover, but here is Wildmon and Brown making their way onto the main straight once again. Nathan Ray in the foreground, overtaking some more of these GT3s, but how many more has Pat Pelshak got? Can he negotiate all of them now? I think he can. Down towards the opening corner as we see Brett Gardner look for a move for the lead on Corey Saccone. Not going to go for it this time around, but the top three in this race, 1 second the difference.
Oh, hello.
Ooh.
That's Graham Wildman having to make way for Rodrigo Brown. That's caught up Eric Fenson and all of that as well. Fenson now in trouble of getting passed by Jake Cummings around the outside of Coca-Cola. He'll hold on to the position, but man, it just shows how much the face of a battle can change thanks to the presence of a couple of GTPs. They were running over each other a little bit, were Brow and Wildman, and that has completely changed the face of this. Now Cummings having to defend from Ted Lowendick as Bradley Holly made his way around the outside at the hairpin. This is fantastic.
I think what happened there at turn 1 was that Brown tried to send it on Wildmon, but of course there was only 1 car's width left by Eric Fenson for the 1 car coming down the inside. Didn't really expect the second to be there, but lo and behold, Rodrigo Brown put himself in that scenario, and there was a little bit of contact, but the 14 car is ahead and marching on onwards and upwards around the outside of Nathan Ray goes Brett Gardner. Sorry, that is absolutely the wrong way around. Around the outside of Brett Gardner goes one of the GTP cars as they make their way onto the main straight once again. But this is great to see. The LMP... I'm stuck half an hour ago, Reece. The GTPs obviously aren't that much quicker in the slow speed corners, but are that much quicker in the medium and high speed corners. And it's really difficult for these guys to judge, I think, how much pace advantage they're going to have into some of these apexes.
Yeah, supremely difficult around this circuit as Darian Roy in the sole Porsche in the field trying to hold off Jeff Evans and the hot pink Acura. We'll have to wait and see if that move gets done shortly. They're still making their way through the top GT3s here. Brett Gardner and William Fenson just up ahead of them, and you'll see the advantage of the GTPs in the high speed. Look at how much speed they have over the GT3s. They'll get the move done on the way into the hairpin, at least Darian Roy will, but Evans has to wait to get on the power and get the move done there on our GT3 leader, Corey Saccone. There's plenty of battling going on down in the GT3 field as well. This is the battle for 13th. Bowie Suan has held on very nicely. In fact, he's up a position from where he started. The likes of Murphy, Pruitt, and Yankee, they're all with a big disadvantage as Jerome Bertiome, lead administrator at the Precision Racing League, having a big problem down into the final sector. He's going to stop and he's going to retire.
Is going to retire, and Jerome Berthiaume not having the best of days. Then here in PRL, you say he's the administrator. He may be doing some administrative work if anybody else was involved in any of those collisions. But he is out of the race, which is a real shame for the 217 car, which leaves us only 10 GTPs, but so far they're providing us more than enough action.
Yeah, plenty of action indeed, and we are only coming up to 14 minutes into this race. We've already seen some scintillating action as Eric Fenson will keep Jake Cummings behind him for the time being. But I tell you what, Cummings has got a great run on the exit of the corner here. Eric Fenson just running a little bit wide on the exit, and we have Chris Stewart and Ted Lowendick still right there as well. The battles have shifted quite a bit since the GTPs came through.
This is really showing why this multi-class racing is so interesting and so important, really, in the whole grand scheme of championship pictures. Oh, particularly in the GT3s, as that was a big old send, or even just a defensive move there from Jake Cummings, as Chris Stewart says thank you very much and moves up to P5. It now puts into the battle the conversation around Ted Lowendick, who's looking to make a move, as Cummings still looking for a line somewhere, not quite able to find it on the number 15 car, but Rick Fenson living life very dangerously, then nearly being completely wiped out on this 777.
Yeah, man, he's looking aggressive, is Jake Cummings, and he's lost the rear end a little bit there into the final 2 turns. Ted Lowendick now stands a chance of getting past him here in the Audi. He's going to try and line up the apex here, straighten the car up as soon as you can, and you'll be able to carry that advantage all the way down the front straight. He's not looking for the slipstream, though, which is interesting to see. Lowendick already having a slight bit of damage to his front left, so this is not going to be ideal for him in terms of straight line speed, to say nothing of the damage that Jake Cummings is still holding on to. Does he have the advantage into the first corner? Well, someone who does have the advantage at the moment, it seems, is Brett Gardner, who's managed to completely narrow that gap to Corey Saccone, and William Fenson is right there as well.
Yeah, this is a great ding-dong battle, isn't it, between all of these guys for the lead of the race, no less. Barely anything in it. 6-7 tenths of a second splitting Corey Saccone, Brett Gardner and William Fenson in this battle for the lead. This is really going to be one that we're going to run through for the next half an hour just to see who can pull out in front and really assert their dominance over the field if they can. But Corey Saccone doing a very good job to defend at the moment, but the likes of Brett Gardner and William Fenson looking for a good result, particularly William Fenson in the number 7 car. He's in the James Bond car. Eric's in the Bond car with the 777 just in behind, but his fighting means that he's really dropped off the back, and that gap nearly 5 seconds now.
Yeah, let's see if there's any kind of move for Brett Gardner to make coming out of the final corner. Saccone had the advantage early on, but ever since the GTPs came through for the first time, he hasn't quite been able to keep the dominance that he had in those first couple of laps. And the slipstream is always a factor here at Fuji. You see that the top 3 have gained enough of an advantage that they'll probably hold on to that, as it looks like Lowendick is going for the pits here. First car to make a pit stop in this race, and we'll see how that works out for him as things go on.
Yeah, early pit stop, I think it's fair to say. There's no doubting that. If you're doing it within about 15 minutes, of course 45 minutes worth of race gives you less wiggle room than you get in a 35 minute race, where that pit window, you're going to get that second stint that little bit further. So there's always that conversation in the back of your mind, but early pit stops going on, and good to see that Ted Lowendick is rolling the dice, trying something different, and let's see how it works out for him in this race, because he might be able to get the undercut on Eric Fenson and Chris Stewart, and then try and get after these 3, because they're not really, I mean, they're gaining away from Eric Fenson, but I think that's more because Eric Fenson is fighting, because these guys, Corey Saccone is being thrown off of his usual racing line a little bit here.
Yeah, he's having to deal with a lot of pressure from Brett Gardner, and it's so important to get your lines and turn in right through this last sector. There are multiple lines you can take, and the pace will equal out, but it just seems that Brett Gardner is able to get off the corners a little better, which will be crucial for the run down the straight here. Saccone, it seems, has set up his car nice and trimmed out for that straight line speed, though. So not much of an advantage for Mr. Gardner, as he will attempt a move at turn 1. Pelchart's still in the lead of GTP, but man, he almost pulled out alongside did Brett Gardner. Corey Saccone will have to hold off this pressure for quite some time.
Yeah, and it's going to be a very, very long stint and a long task for him to do so, if he's able to keep in the lead for the next 26 minutes. Meanwhile, a lot going on elsewhere. Rodrigo Abreu coming into the pit lane now for the Blue McCourt eMotorsports team, as he will drop right to the back of the GTP field. The first driver to come into the pit lane in the GTPs, so we'll have to see if anybody follows suit anytime soon. But do any of these top 3 come into the pit lane? Saccone, I should say, Gardner and William Fenson all in a line. They're coming up towards, well, this is not the part of the racetrack I thought they were. They'll be coming up to the pit lane soon, but I don't think any of them will go soon. If anybody does, it should be Fenson, you'd think.
Yeah, I would think Fenson, because he'll have sat in the slipstream a little bit, saved a tiny bit of fuel, which may ultimately shorten his pit stop. So we'll see how that works out for him. He loses out a little bit coming into the corners, but on the power application, you see Sir Cone was able to straighten it up just a little bit sooner. Seems that Fenson is not willing to go for the pits this time around, so we might have to wait for another couple of laps for that.
Well, I think that's probably a smart decision. You don't really want to be putting yourself back in the pack when you're fighting in this lead battle, not necessarily knowing where you'd come out. So I think a smart decision to stay out with your leading trio for the time being.
Oh,
Meanwhile, contact, and there is the leading trio. Saccone and Gardner, they've come together. Fenson has gone through, more than vindicated in staying out on track.
Oh, wow. So there you go. Sir Cone and Gardner making contact into the opening hairpin, and that was entirely down to Brett Gardner going a little too deep in the corner. You know, he tried that a couple of times, but yeah, it looks like he just went a bit too deep and understeered right into Sir Cone. That has completely changed the face of the GT3 battle.
Massive moments there in not just this particular race but the championship as well, as now William Fenson leads the way. Gardner and Saccone may be coming under pressure soon from Eric Fenson and Chris Stewart if they're not careful, and Jake Cummings isn't far back either, so this is a really tight field, and that has blown the race wide open for the win in particular halfway through here.
Yeah, halfway through, and we've seen some big drama as Bradley Holly is now catching up to Nicholas Schwartz for third in GTP. They're having to work their way through a big GT3 pack here, and they both managed to get through cleanly, only just. We'll see if Bradley Holly has anything left in the tank here for a run down the straight. He had to have a couple of goes turning in for the final corner there. That's not going to help him very much, but still within slipstream range, and he'll keep himself in the fight for now. Bit of clear air. This is the opportunity for them to renegotiate the terms of this battle.
Who's going to come out feeling the happier from those negotiations? That's going to be the real issue. And will anybody maybe try and, literally and figuratively undercut the other here by doing something in the pit lane? Because that could definitely come into play. But Bradley Holly, he's had a good race. Of course, he was the last driver to be able to set a lap time in the qualifying session. We didn't know whether he was going to be able to start anywhere other than last. I think started 8th in the end. Up to P4 now, looking to try and get through on Nicholas Schwartz, who, has shown some good pace so far this evening. So Bradley Holly looking good on the race pace, looking to try and put himself onto what would be the podium for now, albeit, drivers have come into the pit lane, the likes of Rodrigo Abreu. But yeah, it gives you that confidence, doesn't you, to see P3 next to your name, and gives you that little boost going forward, knowing that there's clean air when they get through on these GT3s to try and catch up to Nathan Ray.
Yeah, indeed. They'll be making their way through on Sir Cone and Gardner at the moment, as Eric Fenson and Chris Stewart still fight over P4 in GT3. It really says how far ahead Fenson, Sir Cone and Gardner were, that despite the incident between Sir Cone and Gardner, they have not lost their podium positions. Meanwhile, Nicholas Schwartz will have to give up the position to Bradley Holly. An excellent run down the start-finish straight for the winningest driver in PRL history, as Stewart now tries up the inside of Fenson into turn 1 and gets it done.
Yeah, easy as you like there then. For Chris Stewart on Eric Fenson, not Corey Saccone on William Fenson, but, with so many Fensons in the race, you would be forgiven for looking around thinking, who's who? With William and Eric both really fighting over at least a podium position in this race. Sadly, though, for the third brother of Corey, he's out of the race, so he's probably going to be giving some emotional support maybe to one or the other, actually likely to none, knowing siblings, thinking about it like that. But he's going to be there winning them on, possibly. But regardless, Chris Stewart is hoping to kind of use this move now to his advantage. Oh no, William! Oh, maybe Corey's putting him off because William has spun around down as they make their way into the final sector, and he's dropped down to P3 once again, and all that good, well, I say all the good work of avoiding the collision at turn 1 has been undone.
Yeah, he just ran wide coming out of the kink where the Grand Prix chicane is, just caught the grass a little bit while the car was loaded up, and went for a big old slide. So that results in Corey Saccone going back to the lead, and William Fenson will take this opportunity now to go for the pits. He's lost that time, and he might as well mitigate that by getting the car set up for the rest of the race. The battle's still going on between Gabriel Alvarado and Mark Kalin. These two have not left each other alone for the whole race.
No, they have been attached by the hip, quite frankly, all the way through. And Mark Kalin's going to have the inside line down towards the opening corner. You'd think he'd be able to control it, but can Gabriel Alvarado pull out something from his box of tricks to try and make this move back? And yes, he can. The up and under. He planned it perfectly. Allowed Mark Kalin the inside line and then said, well, I'll break a little bit earlier. I'll make sure I rotate through the corner a little bit quicker. And Gabriel Alvarado, it's up to P6, and he's going to get even more of a gap now as the GTP car will come through to separate him and Mark Kalin just that little bit more. So great work done by the number 3 car. He can now try and have a little bit of an advantage. But look at this. This is absolute chaos in both the GTPs and the GT3s, as there's side-by-side action going on here between, this is William Benson, my word, near contact there between himself and one of the GTPs. He's trying to make a move down the inside of one of his fellow competitors in Sean Murphy, and then not too far in front of him is yet another driver that he wants to overtake. So this is just gloves off, absolute melee fighting.
Yeah, and you know, Fenson, he came out right in front of this pack, but didn't have the best of runs through the first corner. So now he's embroiled right in the middle of a pack of cars that he should be faster than, and that is put the spanner in the works regarding his battle with Saccone and Gardner for the podium. Meanwhile, Eric Fenson decides to make his way into the pits, and it'll be interesting to see where he comes out relative to all of this. He should come out just behind this battle here as they make their way out of the final corner. A good exit there for William, and should be able to get past his fellow Ferrari there of Sean Murphy. But Murphy moving a little bit down the straight, letting Fenson know that he's not going to let this get done easy.
Yeah, it's going to be quite a hard
too deep for Murphy.
Oh no, there's a little bit of a love tap in the back from 2 of the drivers now, as they all just kind of concertina up into the opening corner. They all somehow seemingly make it through in the same order without too much contact. I don't know how that's happened.
Yeah, well, Richard Saavedra got a very big hit in the rear there from Sean Murphy, and Travis Pruitt then ran into the back of Murphy. So Sean now with some pretty hefty damage to his front and rear bumpers. Jeff Evans and Darian Roy have been battling for some time in the GTPs. They are going to trade spots for 5th. We'll see if Roy will have the advantage on the racing line. Evans gets up the inside into the hairpin. A bit too narrow of a turn in, though. That's going to hurt his exit.
It really is, but is it going to hurt it enough to deny any kind of opportunity of a move here? Yes, because Darian Roy not going to go for it here on Jeff Evans, and it's a very fast corner. You'd be slightly silly to try and make it, I think, down into that corner when you've got so many other opportunities, as will the likes of William Fenson on the back of Richard Saavedra. But look at all of these drivers. I mean, they are climbing on top of each other to make these moves.
Yeah, there we go. Fenson finally makes his way past Saavedra, and we'll have some clear air now to take advantage and maybe try and get some inroads back again on Corey Saccone and Brett Gardner, as every other car in the pack decides to make their way into the pit lane. Kalin and Evan Henneman already in the pits, having completed their stops. Kalin with a 12.3 second stop. Compare that to 11 seconds for Ted Lowendick, who was the first driver in the GT3 class to pit. he's going to pass all of those guys and actually be ahead of Eric Fenson. So it's working out all right for Ted Lowe and Dick at the moment. These two at the front of the field still have yet to come into the lane.
Yeah, it was a bit of a street party in the pit lane, wasn't it, down there, with 4 drivers back-to-back coming in and kind of covering each off, but it allows the rest to escape from the train and try and build away from the battle that was brewing. So interesting to see, with only 15 minutes left, we're nearly 2/3 of the way through this race. It has absolutely flown by, gone in the blink of an eye. Oh my word, what are we looking at here? This is Jeff Evans and Darian Roy overtaking 2 of the GT3 cars, including that's Kerry Corcoran in very distinctive livery with the Star-Spangled Banner all over the car. Mark Kaling just in behind as well, as Brett Gardner now comes into the pit lane as the first of the leading group in the GT3s, I believe, to come into the pit lane.
Yeah, Brett Gardner in the box at the moment as Darian Roy tries on Jeff Evans to get the position back. We've seen Rodrigo Abreu, Graham Wildman and Nicholas Schwartz, as well as Alex de Almeida, already pit in the GTPs. Very early pit stops for Abreu, Wildman and Almeida. Schwartz only coming in half a lap ago for him. Jeff Evans and Darian Roy want to continue their fight. Meanwhile, Brett Gardner has come out, and crucially, he has come out behind William Fenson. This will certainly be interesting. Actually, having a look at William, it looks like the reason he came into the pit lane was a drive-through. So William Fenson is at even more of a disadvantage now. I think he's exceeded the incident limit.
Oh, no, that's a disaster there for William Fenson. Then, if the case, in the number 7 car, was having such a good race, but he is having some issues, isn't he, now at this stage, especially with 40 minutes to go. If you've exceeded the instant limit already, I mean, that's just going to compound, isn't it, as we work our way through the rest of this race. Here's Corcoran and Kalin nearly side by side. Kalin trying to take as much of an inside line as he could, but not able to capitalise on the number 8's wide moment. But maybe this time can the 62 find its way through, and Mark Kalin is now up into P11. Kerry Corcoran still on the inside, still trying to stick a nose in as one of the GTPs comes roaring around the outside, but Kerry Corcoran going to have to give it up now as they make their way towards turn 10, and Mark Kalin back into 11th.
Yeah, well, oh no, Corcoran's still going to stake his claim here. Kalen's going to try and hold the line here, but he can't do it. Corcoran is missing his front bumper now, and Kalen will have to contend with Graham Wildman finding his way around his outside. So briefly up into the position was Kalen, but ultimately not happening. Corey Saccone, meanwhile, has taken his stop, and it's been a bit of a longer stop than he wanted. Brett Gardner is ahead of him and in the effective lead for GT3.
Yes, he is, and that's a very, very good position for him to be in. Of course, Bowie Suen is in the real lead in the GT3s, but he is yet to make a stop, and I'm sure Bowie will be enjoying his time in the sun in the number 21 car as he does lead the race. But Brett Gardner and Corey Saccone, this is really where the race is at, isn't it? So, William Fenson, of course, we've mentioned, not really in this picture. It's really a Gardner-Cassone Saccone battle for the win, isn't it?
Yeah, looks like it. Unfortunately, we see that Jack Hedgecox is in the pits and has not come back out for 2.5 minutes. I think there's been a big problem for the number 24, which is a real shame because he was in contention for a top 5. He's been in there for quite some time now, and yeah, I'm going back to see exactly what happened to him. Oh, I think we've got a clue as to why Kerry Corcoran has lost his front bumper. Hedgecox lost it trying to pass Corcoran into the final corner, and that's ultimately what took him out.
Yes, but I mean, there's so many incidents that we've seen so far this evening. It's a miracle that we've only had the number of drivers that we've had so far out of this race. Here comes Bowie Suen and William Fenson into the pit lane as they will stop on their marks for their mandatory pit stop. Will William Fenson make it to the end? with the instant limit? That's really going to be the question. But it has released Chris Stewart into third, and Ted Lovendick, he pitted really, really early, didn't he? Remember, about 25 minutes ago, he's up to fourth now and right behind Chris Stewart for third.
Yep, keeping up some good pace as well. 1 minute 38.2 on the previous lap. That's only a tenth off the previous lap by Brett Gardner. So, yeah, Lowendick has definitely got top 3 pace at the moment. Be interesting to see how that battle turns out as all the GT3s have made their way into the pits. And looks like our GTP leader has gotten the memo as well. Pat Pelsharp makes his way in. So does Nathan Ray.
As the leaders in GTP, they waited a while, didn't they? They waited 35 minutes. Bradley Hollywood coming as well. But they are finally driving it into the box. Clearly no need to panic on the pit stops early on in the GTPs. Jeff Evans and Darian Roy also coming in, which means Pat Pelshat, he's looking good for a lights to flag victory here with 10 minutes on the clock.
Indeed. Pat Pelshat is no stranger to lights to flag victories in this class. He completes his pit stop 13.1 seconds, which is right about the middle of the times that we've seen on the stops. Rodrigo Abreu, thanks to pitting 11 laps ago, is going to move ahead of Bradley Holly, Jeff Evans and Darian Roy. Same goes for Graham Wildman too. Nathan Ray will come out in second, but it looks like he's having some technical issues at a very inopportune time. Rodrigo Abreu has been in the rhythm for quite some time. Could be looking at second if he plays his cards right.
Yeah, it's looking good, I think it's fair to say, at the moment. Rodrigo Abreu having a fantastic race, but in a similar vein, so was Ted Lowe, who I touched upon before. So good to see some good drives going on through the field. In the midst of all the carnage and chaos that we saw in the middle of that race, we've still got quite a bit of chaos, I'm sure, to unfold with some lapping, that of course has to be done. But it's interesting that some of these drivers, of course, are able to gain and lose time on pit lane, and it really can impact the race in ways that you don't necessarily expect, or with these pit stops being longer, you don't necessarily notice them a 9 second compared to a 7 second.
Yeah, indeed. Well, it's going to be interesting to see how this all stacks out between Ray and Abreu. You know, Abreu certainly the quicker of the two at the moment, but yeah, Nathan Ray may or may not be able to get to the end of the race from here. I mean, he pitted with only like 10 minutes on the clock or so, and a 9.9 second stop for him should be just enough fuel to get to the end as Mark Kalin spins behind Kerry Corker and just reverses out of the way in time for Sean Stecker to make his way through. Yeah,
and not the best of moments for the number 62 car. Did he have reverse lights there, Mark Kalin? I'm not sure how road legal that car is, but you know, nice to see that maybe he's got some beeps like a truck has. He's got some beeps on there as well, just to warn around him.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if that is indeed the case. But well, Kalin, with further disadvantage, will continue on. Fenson, meanwhile, William is trying to fight for the lower positions here after running in the top 3 for a good portion of the race. TJ Yankee in the Mustang catching the slipstream, and he'll try and get it done into the first turn. I think William Fenson is just trying to get to the end now. He's not going to be fighting these moves too hard. As I say that, he peeks out coming into Coca-Cola.
Yeah, I was going to say he was looking for it there. He wasn't going to end up committing to it, but definitely looking for the move, and he's going to be looking through it for it all the way through this middle sector of the lap. TJ Yankee looking to hold on, but very, very quick has been William Fenson tonight, and even with all of his issues, he is looking to just pick up what he can in this race. P12 is his, P11 right in front of him as well. P10 maybe a little bit harder to obtain with Mark Kalin being what is that, 6 seconds up the road from Travis Pruitt with only 6 minutes on the clock to go. So maybe P11 is going to be a cap, but regardless, going to be a good recovery drive for him either way. And disappointing that he wasn't that he isn't able to pick up a podium in this race. But the man we're looking at here on all of your screens, Pat Pelchat, I don't think he's going to be around up picking up a podium. He's really looking to pick up that win.
Yeah, a win that he's seen many times before in this season, and picking his way through the GT3 traffic with the same precision that we have come to expect from him. Nice and easy down the front straight for him with 5 minutes and 40 seconds remaining on the clock. Now, considering a lap time around here is about 1 minute and 25 seconds in a GTP, I'd expect maybe 4 laps to go from here for our GTP leader. And in terms of GTP battles, the only one that we're really seeing is the one between Jeff Evans and Darian Roy. Like you said earlier, drivers joined at the hip. That was the case for Mark Kalin and the driver he was battling with. But yeah, it's the same for Jeff Evans and Darian Roy at the moment. We'll see if this ends up exploding in the last 300 seconds of this race.
And that really is all we've got left. I mean, it has flown by. 45 minutes is kind of a mix between a sprint race and a longer format endurance style race, especially when you're just the one driver. But it really has gone by, and that's just because of the quality of racing that we've had tonight, with the moves that we've had, with the drama that we've seen, and really with the strategy battle that we've seen all the way through. Drivers picking up their position throughout the field, trying to work their way up the order without having to make any physical overtakes on track, where it has seemed somewhat difficult to make it stick here. And the likes of Ted Lovendick, Rodrigo Abreu doing that to great effect. But with only 4 minutes to go, the task now, with gaps opening up as he mentioned, is just to get it home, isn't it?
Yeah, just get it home. That's the aim at the moment. Gardner has fought valiantly to try and get the lead back on Corey Serkonen. Despite them coming together, they still remain in the top 2 positions. So if they can just keep it clean to the end, I think that'll be a relief to both of them. Have a look at the exit that Jeff Evans just got there. Darian Roy was catching up to him, but seems like the power isn't quite there for the Porsche on the exit of the final corner. Got to be absolutely inch perfect on your way out here, and well, move around in the mirrors, maybe try and make the move up the inside. It's one way to unsettle the driver you're trying to pass. Is, oh dear, Mustang spinning there, and goodness gracious me, Gabriel Alvarado, who was fighting with Mark Kalin before, obviously not having the best of times, as Evans will keep the position over Darian Roy. Tell you what, this side-by-side is bringing Alex de Almeida back into the picture.
It is, isn't it? And De Almeida may be having a shot at a couple of other positions from P8, as this battle will rumble on into the final couple of laps. Another battle to keep an eye on. It said Lovendick, who has caught Chris Stewart for P3 in the GT3 class as well. So that could be a move to decide a podium sitter whom we might speak to after the race. But 2:38 on the clock. Pelchat still going around. We remain to see how many laps there is to go, but I do believe at the end of this one we should have 2 more.
Yep, time rapidly running out as out of the final corner again. Jeff Evans getting a slightly better exit than Darian Roy, but the Porsche will come back at the end of the straight. I don't think Darian Roy will be wanting to go for a big dive at turn 1 like he did on the previous lap, though. He will rightly stay behind, but Alex de Almeida, you see, is getting slowly larger in the mirrors of the Acura and the Porsche.
Yeah, nice to see these guys still so close together, but We don't just want to see them close together, we want to see some side-by-side action, don't we, in the closing stages. Here is that battle I was mentioning before, the P3 in the GT3s, between Chris Stewart and Ted Lovendick, and the slipstream that Lovendick will get down here will be quite tasty. A tow rope attach. You can see in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen how that gap is closing ever so slightly. 0.26, 0.25, 4, as they make their way down towards turn 1. Not enough, really, at all for Ted Lovendick to make any kind of move into turn 1. Only gain about a tenth in that slipstream down in towards that opening corner. But look at this move. This is Pat Pelchat making his way past Nathan Ray, as I think we're going to get one more lap after this, but this could catch up the leader, depending on where this is. Oh my word, that's a big old collision, bouncing over the sausage curb. Don't take out the GT3, as they go side by side past the GT3. They're still going to make their way out of it. Jeff Evans and Alexi Almeida, they are still side by side. There is nothing to separate these two, as it's allowed Darian Roy to escape, but one, maybe two more laps to go for these guys. De Almeida and Evans are scrapping over P8 like they've got nothing else to lose.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, the leader is coming to the checkered flag. Pat Pelchat is on the final lap. And oh no, Chris Stewart and Ted Lowendick have just come together, coming into the final sector there. Lowendick was trying to make the move on Stewart, but unfortunately, a little bit too much speed into the corner and gave him a whack. But Pat Pelchat, the timer is going to tick down to 0 by the time he gets to the line. It's another win for our championship leader.
It is, and it's just about going to tick down for Pat Pelchat. He could have slowed down as well with his 5-second margin, but it is lights to flag for the 919, and the championship leader puts another few fingers on that trophy with 3 rounds to go. His championship lead will be well over 30 points now. Brett Gardner, somewhat frustratingly for maybe everybody else, will be the last driver, will he not, to finish this race, as Corey Saccone was caught by the leader. Brett Gardner was not, so realistically, Brett Gardner already the winner of this race of the GT3s.
Yeah, this is basically a victory lap for Brett Gardner, who we would have thought was not having the best of times at the start of the race. Kalen is just going to fend off William Fenson for 10th place in GT3. Barely anything between them when they got to the line. That was a fantastic battle to the end. But yeah, victory tour for Brett Gardner, who remains in the championship lead in GT3. This is going to be a fine result for him.
Yeah, and I'd also like to shout out Kerry Corcoran on a P6 result for the number 8 car. We didn't really expect that. Came out of nowhere, really, keeping out of trouble. And Kerry Corcoran, P6, great result for the number 8 car, who I think, again, fair to say, struggled for some results so far this season. The P6 more than respectable. Here is our winner in the GT3 class, crossing the line, the last driver to do so, and it is, of course, Brett Gardner, who will win the race. But it means that we can immediately show you exactly what has happened in this race with the results from the GTP-GT3 series for round 6, and after 31 laps, it was Pat Pelchat who won the race. He, launched us away to the green flag and never looked in his rearview mirror. Won by 5 seconds ahead of Nathan Ray and Rodrigo Abreu, who really kept Nathan Ray honest in the closing stages. Graham Wildmon 4th with Bradley Holly, the man with the T-Cam, in 5th. Nicholas Schwartz is 6th with Darian Roy, Jeff Evans and Alex de Almeida in their tight battle, 7th, 8th and 9th. Jack Hedgecock didn't finish, along with the other non-finisher of Jerome Berthiaume, who was 22 laps down in the end. But in the GT3s, the other drivers, the 19 drivers, finished like this. Brett Gardner won, and everyone will be down a lap because Brett Gardner wasn't lapped in, Corey Saccone was. But Corey Saccone and Chris Stewart made it a Chevy 1, 2, 3, with Eric Fenson leading home the brothers in 4th, Ted Lovendick 5th, and Kerry Corcoran, as I mentioned, great result for the driver in the Porsche in 6th. Sean Stecker, Bowie Suwen, Evan Henneman and Mark Caden round out the top 10. In the GT3, so we roll on to William Fenson, who, so unfortunate, was right in that mix for the win, but penalties and traffic caught him up, and he was only able to finish in 11th. Jake Cummings 12th, Travis Pruitt in P13, Teji Yankee, Doug Evans, and Gabriel Alvarado in the top 16. 3 non-finishers in this class: Richard Saavedra, Sean Murphy and Corey Fenson, meaning that of the 30 starters we've got 25 finishers. But all in all, when all has been said and done, Reese, an incredibly exciting race. Fuji delivering once again, as it always does, and Pat Pelchat doing what he does best.
Absolutely. He joins us now for the winner's interview.
Immediately does. Pat, welcome in once again for a winning interview, because you have been so dominant this season. How was this race? Sum it up for us. Lights to flag victory, extending that championship lead. Must have felt good.
Yeah, the race didn't feel so good though. To be quite honest, it was very sloppy. I made a few mistakes, braking mistakes, throttle mistakes, especially the last corner. I could never get it right. Honestly, I think Nathan and the guys behind had quite some pace tonight. Yeah, they were pretty fast, to be honest.
I mean, it must still be good for you and your performance if you feel like this was an off race and you still won. I mean, talk us through how you're viewing the championship now, because you're going to be leading by over 30 points, 3 rounds to go. Are you going to still be going full throttle to take all the wins you can, or you're going to try and consolidate that championship?
I'm always going full throttle. There's no holding back. I'm always pushing. I'm always going for it. I mean, if there's a race, there's a win to get. I'm gonna go and get it, you know. And yeah, I don't know, man. This week was just, I had a lot of stuff to do. I rebuilt my rig from ground up basically this week, so I didn't have much time to run on track, and I'm pretty happy considering everything.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive then, to take home the win. Last, and before we let you go and have a well-deserved rest and maybe a drink as well, what tracks are you looking forward to in the next 3 weeks? Are there any that stand out for you?
Le Mans in the rain. That's gonna be fun. Catalonia also. I think it's one of my pretty decent track, but Le Mans in the rain is gonna be fun. It's the season finale, so you know we'll try to go 3-4-3.
Yeah, of course. And I don't think many people are going to be thinking that they're going to be able to stop you at this point, Pat Pelchat. Congratulations on another win, and we'll probably speak to you again in 7 days' time.
Oh yeah, for sure. Thank you, guys.
Pelchat there, again a winner in the GTP GT3 series, and really putting a hand on the trophy race, because the catching pack were closer today, it's fair to say, but still nowhere near Pelchat.
Yes, well, the leader of that chasing pack was Nathan Ray for Pax Oceani, and he's with us now. Nathan, a good race from you. You and Pat, a couple of the only drivers in the field to not really see any big changes for position by the end of the race, but it certainly would have been a challenge working your way through the traffic today.
Yeah, there was a couple tense moments, and I was really trying my best to be extra nice to GTs where possible early in the race, and the hope and prayer that if they're in a position to maybe give me a hand later on, they would. So between that and just fearing for my tire's life the entire race, it was just do my best to shut out every bit of nonsense and extra distractions.
Yeah, interesting that you mentioned tires. Was Fuji not a good circuit for the rubber today?
No, basically all week during officials even I don't think I had a single race where my left rear had more than 50% tread, and even on this one, I think, if I go back and look at my screenshot, yeah, left rear 44%, so it was a little bit slimy by the end.
Yeah, right. Wow, that must have been a handful in the final laps. Well, obviously you're pretty comfortably up in the top 3 in the championship, and Pat's pace seems a little bit difficult to overcome at the moment. But do you think you have any surprises for him in the last couple of rounds?
If I can just do well in traffic and out fuel save him, I think I have a half shot. But on sheer pace, he's just unmatched right now. Unless I unlock some magical fairy dust to sprinkle on the setup, I don't think I'm gonna have him on pace.
Oh, well, regardless, you are still ahead of everyone else today, aside from Pat, Nathan. So congratulations on the second place. Hopefully there's more to come before the end of the season.
Thank you.
Nathan Ray in the number 23 there. And, well, a fantastic run as well from Brett Gardner as well, Dara, who managed to grab the win despite not qualifying on pole.
Yeah, Brett, welcome in. Congratulations on the win in that GT3 class. That was one hectic race. Talk us through it, because you were in the lead, then you weren't in the lead, then you were in the lead again. I mean, how was it on the emotion scale?
Yeah, I was certainly going up and down a roller coaster there. I knew going into the race when I didn't get pole that I should probably change my strategy on that. So when I wasn't on the pole, I decided that I was going to try to save as much fuel as I can, so whatever pit stop we had would be as beneficial in time for me as possible. And I think it worked out. I was really trying not to think about it and not give myself the anxiety that it wasn't going to work out midway through the race. So I'm glad it just happened to work.
Yeah, but I mean, this is good for you in the championship as well, of course. Gives you a real boost with 3 rounds to go. Some of your, other close rivals not picking up nearly as many points as you this evening, so this must be really good for you with 3 rounds left.
Yeah, absolutely. The less work further down the line, I guess, the better.
And that is always the way you really want it. With going, you always want to go into a championship finale with pretty much nothing to do, and you're setting yourself up nicely for that. With that in mind, of course, 3 rounds to go. Any particularly that you're looking forward to out of the 3 tracks you've got left?
Can you remind me what tracks we have left?
My word. We have Le Mans, we have Road America, and we also have
Barcelona.
Barcelona, thank you. I nearly said VIR, but that's the other series, isn't it? So there you go, Brett. Which one of those 3, if any, are you looking forward to?
Road America is always a blast.
Yeah. And that'll be in 7 days' time as well. So hopefully you can keep up that good momentum. But Brett Gardner, congratulations. Thank you for coming in, and hopefully we'll speak to you again in 7 days' time.
All right, thank you, guys.
Gardner there, deserved winner in the GT3 category. And I believe, Reese, we've got the P2 man here as well.
We have Corey Sarkonis with us now, and it's been a bit since we've had a chat to you, Corey. It was a bit of a difficult race for you, starting on pole. Obviously, a fantastic job that you got there, but things got a little bit heated with Brett.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened there in turn 1. I was he got the run on me. I was gonna let him have the corner, and I got to go watch it back. I'm not sure if he went deep or if I maybe cut down too much. I hate that it happened. I didn't mean anything by it. I wasn't trying to race him hard there, but I was battling a completely damaged car since like lap 9, so it was quite the difficult race for me.
Well, regardless, I think a second place in the end is probably one of the best results you could possibly get from that situation. So, still a good haul of championship points on the line, which will certainly be a big boon coming into the last few rounds of the season. It's really getting down to brass tacks now.
Yeah, it's a shame I had to miss those past 2 weeks. Yeah, it really hurt my chances there, but you never know. I could claw back, late season mishaps and whatnot happened, so hopefully I can keep finishing strong. I'm thrilled that I got a P2 with, I had wheel damage on my left rear since lap 9 when that GTP hit me, and it was sweating ever since that lap, trying to control that car.
Yeah, definitely tough goings in the Corvette here at Fuji. Well, regardless, congratulations on the runner-up position, Corey, and hopefully Road America smiles on you.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Today's race definitely got me back in the mood to race, so I'm happy with it. Disappointed, but happy.
Yeah, excellent stuff from Corey Sarkone, getting second place there. And finally, Dara, we round things out with third place, Chris Stewart. It's a 1-2-3 for the Corvettes.
Yeah.
It is. And Chris Stewart, Congratulations. Sorry, I was cutting off for that. Congratulations on the win.
You're good.
On the win. On the P3, I'm sorry. Talk us through it, though, because it was a big old dogfight during that race.
Yeah, it was actually a lot of fun. I felt extremely off the pace when we got started in practice. I feel like just following a lot of the faster guys in this series at the start gave me an opportunity to kind of like pick it up pretty quick. And yeah, there was a lot of good battles, lots of great overtaking, lots of clean racing. I felt like GT3 was pretty clean from what I saw. I know there was some stuff going on ahead, but yeah, we had a good time. It was great racing with these guys as always.
And took us through that strategy. What did you try and do to gain an edge over the others? We saw some undercuts, In the end, how did you see the race best?
I mean, for me, I felt like I said, I was so far off the pace just getting into the practice session that I was just pushing and doing everything I could to get the best laps, as I could get out of it. I didn't have a whole lot of strategy going into it. It was mostly just, if I was going to be holding somebody up, I was going to stay out as long as possible. If somebody was holding me up, I was going to pit a little bit earlier. And actually, I forget who it was, but somebody actually did that. I passed them. They ended up pitting a little bit earlier, trying to get the undercut, but didn't work out in that case. But yeah, for me, it was just trying to run as fast as laps as possible and catch up as much as I could from a lack of practice.
But congratulations regardless, because the P3 clearly was a well-deserved podium for you. Looking forward, 3 rounds left. Anywhere particularly out of Road America, Barcelona and Le Mans that you're looking forward to?
All of them. I honestly just really enjoy this group. It's been a lot of fun this season. Looking forward to compete with the guys for the rest of the season, and just having fun with it, man. It's been great.
It's an answer that we do love to hear. Well done, Chris Stewart, on your podium, and hopefully we'll be speaking to you again in the podium interviews post race for the rest of the season.
That's the plan.
Stuff. Lovely there to speak with Chris Stewart and Reese. I mean, we've got to sum this up, this race, because it really had quite a lot. It had nearly everything, didn't it? It had the lead battles, collisions for the lead. It also had some pit strategy, some crashes, some spins. It really was a well-packed-in race for 45 minutes.
Yeah, plenty of action indeed, which we've come to expect from the GTP and GT3 series. It's turned into one of my favorite series to commentate through the week, and looking forward to those last 3 rounds coming up. Of course, next week we do go to Road America. It's going to be a Road America fest on Monday nights at the PRL. Both the LMP3 and GT4s and the GTP and GT3s will be racing here next week, so get ready for a lot of high-speed action.
Yeah, not many air miles that we're going to do during the broadcast either, because we get there and we don't actually have to fly halfway across the world as we did from Spain to Japan today. But yeah, 7 days time, please do join us for that, because the championship's really heating up and it looks like it's going to be a fantastic race at Road America. It's going to be tense, I think it's fair to say, after the racing that we've had tonight. But we've had some great racing, we've had some great moments, and some important moments, which means that, of course, we're going to get more of the same in 7 days' time. My thanks to Reese Gardner, who's been alongside myself, Darren Thacker, and, of course, Dustin Ollis up in the broadcast booth, making the broadcast look absolutely wonderful for all of us. And we thank you to all of you for watching on RaceSpotTV, and we hope that you watch in 7 days' time once again, when PRL will roll into Road America for not just the GTP GT3 series, but also the LMP3 GT4 Challenge.